and we're going to do a little bit of an experiment when we get to that point or before the end, where I'll start a brand new ChatGPT account and ask the exact same thing that Nadir asked and see what results we get. Because what I suspect is that Nadir has his ChatGPT pre-trained to give him the answers that he wants, which is what most people that do that do. So, yes. All right, let's get here. And I'll swap you guys around. And let me put on the counter because we're going to set up. Oh, I need to close this. The stage is going to go away for just a second. Counter. OBS. There we go. All right. Going at it.
Okay.
We should be coming on.
Oh, Mike, make sure to start the stream properly.
I don't know why. There we go. Cool. All right, guys, we are back. Welcome to Modern Day Debates. We're going to be doing a really fun debate tonight, Christianity or Islam, which condones slavery. It's going to be the Word and I versus Nadir. And today we're going to start with some 10-minute openings, do a 50-minute dialogue, and then we'll do some questions from you guys, the audience.
Oh, cool. I didn't know this. I can show the comments from your chat. That's so cool. Welcome, everyone, on Words Chat. Hello.
And one more reminder for DebateCon 7. That is going to be on the 31st in Houston. You can right here get a 20% off ticket sale. It's good for another 48 hours. I think we're about halfway through that 48 hours. We just didn't change the graphic yet. So go ahead and check that out. Meet us there. And then we're going to go ahead and flip a coin, I believe, for who's going first. You got the coin, Nadir?
I don't have a coin, but I think there's like a website. Just do flip coin.
Oh. Mike, what the hell are you doing?
First comment. Is that a Houston Oilers hat you're wearing there, Word, in that
For sure, yeah.
Oh, love the Houston Oilers, my man.
For
So
sure.
I am from Nebraska, but my dad's first job out of college was in Houston. And because being from Nebraska, we didn't have an NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
So, he moved back to Nebraska before I was born, but we grew up watching, Warren Moon and Rhys Givens and Haywood Jeffrey. Yeah. So anyway, that's great to see an Oilers hat.
Hey, I welcome a Oilers fan, man. We few far in between, but man, if you're going to be repping in Nebraska, man, yes, we welcome with open arms.
I don't care at all about the sport, but I do love the hat.
That's good enough. I
have a coin, actually. Well, you can do it online. There's a website that you could do.
You want to do it? I'm down to let you do it.
Because I got my camera mounted.
You're first.
The reason why he was doing it is because he didn't want to go live. I mean, he didn't want to go first.
Right.
So he was, making a big deal about him going first, or I'm going first. So
I don't know how much you curse in your audience, but I'll just say it once. Nadir sometimes is a little bit of a bitch. Yeah.
Okay, so right. He goes first. All right, 10 minutes. Go ahead and start right now.
All right, everybody. I appreciate y'all for joining us on this debate. I appreciate Nadir for showing up, and I appreciate James and Mike and Modern Day Debates for having me on the platform so we can discuss historical debate. According to Nadir himself, says everybody is running it for this debate, so I stepped up to the challenge. And this debate will be: what religion condones slavery, Christianity or Islam? So before we jump right into it, I think we have to set some definitions of the term, because I believe when he says slavery, Nadir is talking about chattel slavery in the sense that America and parts of Africa, parts of the Muslim world actually progressed and partook in history, throughout history. So we're going to need to set some rules and regulations and some criteria on what does it constitute to be chattel slavery. Okay, so chattel slavery, for one, is man stealing or kidnapping. heavy bondage, chains and whips, cruel and unusual punishment, coercion, forcefully making someone do something against their own will, treating someone's body as property that could easily be discarded, and also a lifetime imprisonment with no chance of freedom. So I'm hoping that Nadir will agree with this form or these definitions of chattel slavery. And if you want to introduce one on his own time, then we can discuss that during the 50-minute open discussion. Well, but first of all, I think we have to deal with the word of slave itself, because in the Hebrew Bible, there is no particular word that distinguishes a hired worker, right, and a slave in the sense of a chattel slavery. It's all abid, abdu, abadu, kin to the Semitic languages like Arabic and Syriac, such like that. So there isn't a specific word for chattel slavery when it comes to the Bible, right? So the Bible, in the sense, it also equates.
Let me. Are you considering here endangered servitude as slavery, or do you take that as a separate thing?
Yeah, that was my point in making the distinguishing between chattel slavery, like hard, cruel punishment in bondage, slavery. But the Bible, it doesn't differentiate between indentured servant or a slave. In that point, it used the same word for both, or there's no way to differentiate the two. So every time you see slave in the Bible, it's not automatically meaning chattel slavery. It's more indentured servitude. Mm-hmm. It uses the same word. Also use like stranger, sojourner, and all of these other words that is synonymous with indentured servants.
Okay.
Many a times that this word slave can also be a stranger or sojourner in or amongst the Israelites. So anytime that you see these words of slavery or slave, is usually talking about a sojourner or a stranger in the land, right? So Leviticus 18, it tells us that the nations surrounding the Israelites performed and partook in rituals and unclean acts that made them abomination to the people. So if we read Leviticus 18, verse 29, it says, for everyone who does any of these abominations.
If anyone wants to stop at any point to comment, let me know.
Yeah, no, I'm listening. I'm kind of taking it as an intro here, so I was just
we usually play these the openings, let them play and comment. But if you want to stop, just feel free.
This person who do them shall be.
Yes, sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's really good so far. I think this is something really important. You have to define your terms. And so I think that's a really strong position, because a lot of when watching like feminist debates, we don't know what feminism is in most of these debates. What the Word has done is telling us what he is arguing for in engaging slavery. And I think that that's really a strong position.
All right.
But off from among their people. So not only is it one law and statute commandments for the Israelites, it also applies to the heathen nations that surround them, because our God is the God of all. And there's one statutes and commandments. Now, if we go to Leviticus 19:32, it says, when a stranger sojourns with you in their land, you shall not do him wrong. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So we know that the Israelites wasn't just strangers, they were also slaves, and was actually succumbed to chattel slavery by the Egyptians in Egypt, in the pharaohs. So even God himself equates sojourners, strangers, and slaves all to be in the same class and same category. If we indeed, when we go and we look further into how would you treat your slave or mistreat your slave, there is statutes and legislations that regulates you not being overly ruthless in making them, being barbaric towards your slaves. Exodus 21 verse 20 says, when a man, male or female, with a rod and the slave dies under his hand, he should be avenged. So not only would the male or the owner who owned the slave or was under the care of the slave, he would have to die, because they practice eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. So these slaves are given the same human rights as the Israelites. right? And then Exodus 21, it also says that you cannot steal a servant or a slave from anyone. You can buy them from other people, from other nations, but you can't steal them. If you're found stealing a male, female, boy, girl, anyone, you're caught with them, you should be put to death. This is not what we will think of as chattel slavery, right? And I can go more and more deeper to it, because you have to give them, it's 6 years that these people will be under the care or under the supervision of their masters, and then they will be let go. It's obligatory that they will be let go, right? There's a time set, statutes and legislative time regulation on how long a servant can be a servant. And when you let them go, you have to take from what you have and give to him. So he won't end up in the same predicament 6, 7, 8 months later, a year later. You will set him up so he would not have to become a slave again or a hired worker, right? So slavery was a temporary thing in the Bible. But if we go to Sahih Bukhari,
I mean, if you want to press back on it, because I'm about to go to Islam now. If you want to, get clarification or
No, I mean, I'll try not to bring it out too much, but I'm a filthy atheist, so I can't help but notice that you're conveniently forgetting that if you have a female slave, you have a male slave and you give her a wife, the wife and that wife has sons, none of them shall go. And if the slave has to choose whether to go free or to be with their family.
Right, but they won't go. Oh man, what was that? Oh yeah, they won't go in. They won't go
First
out.
one of the night.
They won't go out with him because they didn't come in with him. So they will have to finish doing. The female will have to finish doing her years or whatever, right? And if he's like was going to be released before her, then he would have to go out by himself. But
I don't think that's correct. Doctor, don't the women and the children belong to the master forever? I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah, I think we should read. We might want to read the text. I mean,
yeah, we can pull that up. No problem.
Obviously, people can interpret it differently, but
so one thing I would have done if I were to engage this is I would say, Mr. Nadir, this is your text too. So you have all your stuff, all your issues, plus you have our issues. So if you find fault with us, well, guess what? You've got our stuff plus your stuff. So you've already lost. You're in trouble, and I think that's always a fan favorite of mine, is that if you want to condemn these texts, if a Muslim wants to condemn Judaism and Christianity, they condemn themselves. There is no escape. There is no escape with that. You can't just say, well, it's all gone, it's all corrupted. Then what you do is you demonize God and say God is this demonic force. So it's a loss. It's like there's no win. It's a Kobayashi Maru. It's a lose-lose situation. You cannot win. And I think that's I think it would be a button that if you push that button, it's like there's no escape from that. I would have added a little text.
Yeah, I was thinking of taking that route. Yeah, I was thinking about taking that route, but I know Nadir. He was just gonna say, well, you're running from the Bible. Right? He was just gonna this is exactly you're afraid of your Bible, so that's why I didn't go that route, and then we'll infringe upon the Islamic dilemma, and which is a good argument. I mean, the Islamic dilemma is a good argument. I just didn't want to hear him crying about me trying to leave the text of the Bible and what it says. That's why I didn't go that route.
Yeah, so I think Exodus 21 1 through 6 is what you're talking about, Max. Maybe, and it says
21. Yeah.
Now these are the ordinances that you shall set before them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th year he shall go free for nothing. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons and daughters, the wife and her children shall be her masters, and he shall go out alone. So if he marries a slave, I guess another slave or something, the kids and the wife don't get to go. But if the slave plainly says, "I love my master and my wife and my children, I will not go out free," he can stay or whatever. But yes, there are kids that can be born into slavery. That situation,
That don't
I mean,
have an option.
that don't
Yes.
have an option, I think is what you're arguing anyway. But that's one of the texts. There's multiple we could look at, but I thought we should read that one because I think that was what you were.
Yes, that was the one that I was thinking about.
Yeah, that's the one he
Which,
was thinking about.
Again,
Yeah.
it's because of my inherent position regarding all of these things, right? So just wanted to point it out, and we can move on. We don't need to delve.
I was just going to add one thing too, though. If you
Yeah.
take the Christian position, you're not. So Jews actually are not held by this either. Modern rabbinic Pharisaic Jews do not hold to any of these laws because they say,
Right.
"Look, we've evolved." And Christians make the same kind of argument. Say,
Yes.
we're
Yeah,
under the
yeah.
second covenant. We are not held by what is happening here. This is an understanding of what the ancient Israelites were going through. So it doesn't even matter. We're under Christ's law. So I think this is an issue that I see sometimes with certain Muslim apologists, is that they try to go to these Hebraic laws that I think it's a ridiculous position, because if you look at Islamic law, most of it's Hebraic. Like, for example, the unilateral divorce,
Mhm.
it's impossible. It's almost impossible for a woman to get a divorce within Islam. There's this thing called the khul, but it's very, very hard because the woman has to prove a case to get a divorce. But you're in a patriarchal system where there's, even if you brought the case, it's going to be folded against you. And I've seen this over and over and over again. And this is similar to the ancient Hebrew law, where it's like you have to get a bill of get, where a bill of divorce. And it's very, very hard for a woman to get a unilateral divorce. This is just the ancient kind of Middle Eastern Semitic tradition. So it's like, if Muslims want to insult the Hebrew scriptures, I'm like, your entire tradition is completely influenced by this Middle Eastern context. So mocking and making fun of it is mocking and making fun of your tradition. It's so insane and stupid. It's unbelievable.
I
Sorry.
get that, but on the framing of this debate, Christianity. Well, I mean, you could make the argument, because we're not talking about the books. We're talking about Christianity or Islam. So the practice of the religion is included when you just talk about Christianity as like a thing. You have the book, the customs, and the people that practice it, and so on. So modern Christians don't advocate for slavery, so that would be a fair argument. If it was like, does the Bible or the Quran, the framing of the title of the debate was Bible or Quran which condones slavery, then that would invalidate that point. But yeah, you're right.
And one thing else I wanted to add. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dr.
Well, I was interested in the Word's opinion on this. So, like, I think it's easier to defend Christianity against slavery because you're like, well, that's Old Testament. We don't do that now, so on and so forth. I actually think we as Christians have a harder time defending when you're defending against atheists, because the atheist goes, well, you're claiming that there's one rule forever that can never change. And so therefore the atheist is going to look at the Old Testament, New Testament the same, right? They don't care, because they're saying we're going to go with your guys' claim that, all of these rules are for all time. So I think the atheist has a stronger argument condemning Christian, biblical slavery and compared to Christianity. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
Yeah, I don't think so, because they don't have no moral standard to even begin with to say this is right or wrong. Sorry, I'm just saying, because it's all subjective at this point. I mean, because if you're going to say, well, this is wrong to do so, right? Then
even if they didn't say it was wrong, if they just said the Bible says slavery is okay.
Yeah,
they weren't trying to say it was good or bad, and they weren't making moral claim. They were just saying it was happening. That's harder for us Christians to defend against, don't you think? Or do you not? You still?
But they're never going to detach their claim from morality. The reason why they believe it's bad because it's a moral claim. So that is, you shouldn't treat people like this, and they shouldn't be property. But the Bible never ever even put this in a moral category, right? It never says it is immoral.
Which adds to our point.
No, this is why. Because it never says this is immoral in the fact that someone can sell themselves to you. The immoral part comes on when you mistreat them and you treat them subhuman. this is what the Bible clearly says you can't do. You can't treat them subhuman, and you can't beat them, and you can't do these things to them. So this is a separate thing. The category of practicing slavery, of someone selling themselves to you, or you buying someone because they're in debt or something like that. The practice itself, right, is not inherently immoral. It's how you treat them. Hold on. It's how you treat them once they do it. That's the immoral act, because the Bible always said, you know, love your neighbors, do unto others as you do unto you. So this is the immorality part of it. It's how you treat them once they do it. If they're freely coming and selling themselves to you because they can't feed themselves and you have the means, then that's on them. That's not on you. But you can't treat them subhuman.
Yeah, sorry, Max. I derailed us a little bit there. We better.
I wanted to say one more comment.
I'm going to have to cut off my tongue for it. Like, boy,
I
would love to talk to you about that, because you were like, in my account, you're wrong about everything you just said. But
I have one more comment.
No, but that's cool if you think it's wrong. But
yeah,
you have to give justification why.
Well, I'll do it really quickly. You don't have objective morality because your morality comes from the mind of God. That is definitionally subjective. And I wouldn't make the distinction that if someone sells themselves to slavery, then that is also okay. No, I wouldn't want the bank to come and own me because of a debt. That is still immoral.
No, you're not. The bank ain't coming to own you. You're selling yourself. Just like when you fill out an application to your job, you're selling yourself to that job.
No, you're
not.
Selling
your. Yeah, you are. You're selling your work. You're selling your work to that job.
I'm selling my work, but I do my hours and I go
this
home.
Is right, and
Not
this is exactly. Hold on, this is the exact same way, because it's not. Hold on, you could just say no, but you got to let me finish. Right? They're selling themselves to someone else, but it's for a certain time. Just like you get home at the 8-10 hour work shift, they're doing it for 6 years. So there is a limit on when they can and cannot do it. Right, on how long they're going to do it. As far as this, now, this part when you read in Exodus 21 about the female, the wife cannot go out with the man, is because he's going to leave under the godship, depending on if he's from a different nation or something. He's not going to be a citizen of the Israel no more, and she's more than likely a citizen of Israel. So she's going to have those overhead protections by being within the society of Israel. So if she's going to give that up, no, I mean, that's not what's going to happen. So for her to be protected, she stays with him.
So do you mind if I make another comment? I wanted to make
No, go ahead.
Okay. So one thing that I think what I would have incorporated within this word is you mentioned how Arabism is connected to Islam. And I think you have a valid claim to that, because there's this boost of what is called Arab identity. Many different ethnic groups, like in Iraq, in places like Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, these indigenous populations were not called Arab, right? So Islam got tied with Arab identity. Even in territories like Palestine and Israel, people then started calling themselves Arab because they spoke Arabic. But the funny thing is, we don't call ourselves English because we speak English. So it's an interesting space. So I think what you could have done is say, look, these people who did slavery were European and colonialists and imperialists. They may have called themselves Christians, but they weren't following Christ. They can call on Philemon. They can call on the narrative of Onesimus and Paul. But guess what? Paul isn't talking about that, and they misused Paul in order to promote their European imperialism and colonialism. That's a pretty strong argument. And then you could say, well, look, this Arab imperialism and colonialism is tied to Islamic tradition. That is what they did right in the beginning of the 7th century. They went out and did imperialism and colonialism. How did Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab end up in Israel/Palestine? How did he end up there? Did he end up there by love and kumbaya, or was he doing imperialism? You could say, look, our tradition, we don't have that. Our teachers, our apostles, our church fathers, they were not imperialists and colonialists. They did not go around conquering territory. Yes, maybe the Roman Empire co-opted our tradition and did imperialism, colonialism, but that's not us. Our church fathers didn't do that. Our apostles didn't do that. But your apostles did that. Your heroes did that. So you are stuck with that. We're not stuck with that. So if you do see that, fine. People can call themselves Christians and blow up buildings and do all kinds of stuff. We're not tied to that. I think that would have been.
Yeah,
a
I
really
brought that
smart
up in the
position.
debate. I gave him church fathers, Augustine, Gregory of Nyssa, and none of them owned slave. Matter of fact, they was a pioneer against slavery. I brought that up towards the, in the rebuttal round. But the reason why I started here, because I didn't talk to many people like Max and also Muslims, that if I was to come in and try to separate myself from the Old Testament, right, then they would have had a problem with it, because we believe that Jesus was eternal and he was speaking in the Old Testament as well. You know what I'm
and the
saying?
book
So
is one.
right. So I couldn't just go and just try to completely disband the Old Testament or separate myself from the Old Testament, because the strongest arguments for Bible slavery in the Bible is from the Old Testament. And I know that's exactly where Nadir was going to go to try to prove it. But he cherry picked one scripture out of the New Testament, and he just stayed on that forever too. So but that's why I didn't try to just totally forget about the Old Testament, because whether or not I was going to have to answer for it.
My personal view is that you can't really divorce yourself, because if you divorce yourself from the Old Testament, then Jesus was just a dude.
Yeah, that's why I never do that. That's why I didn't.
Chris Oki 9841 says, "What's your basis for slavery being wrong? Because it's immoral to own a person as property, and I subjectively,
that's what I'm saying. Subjectively, you said it right. But what about somebody else that says it is?
I explained to you how your view is also subjective, and it went unaddressed.
No. Oh, because you said my God is subjective, but not.
Yeah, definitionally, your view is subjective.
But not if he's the ultimate being. Not if he's the ultimate supreme being. He's not subjective.
That's a special fallacy.
That's what you could just say is special pleading, but you have to prove it.
Your special minds bring subjectivity. Your morality comes from the mind of God. Therefore, your morality is.
But who's the ultimate mind in our world? You could just reject it and say, "Nah," but who's the ultimate mind in our world?
And there is the special pleading fallacy. You say that there is one mind that is somehow objective, and that goes against the definition, and that's why you're committing the special pleading fallacy.
No, because he's in a category of his own. There's no other category they can fit God into.
Special. Oh my God. Category of his own.
God is special. I believe it. Yeah, God is special.
Okay, so if you want to make fallacious arguments, then that is awesome.
But you're making one as well, because you can't. You said it's subjective to you, but if it's subjective to the next person, then what is that? That's just subjectivity. If the other person thinks that it's also is good to enslave people.
We don't go in society. We don't go by singular subjectivity. We go by intersubjectivity.
Yeah, but you're speaking out of both sides then. If it's going to be subjective for me and it's also subjective for you, so you can't say what's right or wrong.
Oh, I can.
You can, but you don't have no justification for it. That's what I'm saying.
I absolutely can. I gave you a justification.
No, you said something personal, your personal feelings, but somebody's personal feelings could be different. Somebody else's personal feelings could be different.
I know, because, but I mean, I got him to admit that he is doing a special pleading fallacy.
We might want to do this as a different debate.
We can go on.
But I want to say one last thing.
It's all good. I don't have no beef with Max, man. I don't have no.
No, I understand, and I know that usually, I'm the underrepresented here, but it's okay. We can go on.
Well, I wanted to say one quick comment here. The comment that I wanted to say was in this particular debate, with the Judaism element, because again, Jews do not believe that take this position either. So if modern day Jews do not take a literalistic position of this either, and Christians don't, then I don't understand why people will take a literalistic position of this. Neither of these communities take that perspective that this is the thing that we should do. There's a context, it's historical, and I think if I was taking the Christian apologist position, I'd be like, yeah, it did happen. This is a part of a plan. It's God has a mysterious plan of how these happen. I don't need to explain it, but what I can say is I'm under the new covenant and we don't do this. And I think that is a valid position, personally.
I agree that there are lots of Christians that kind of take that view, Isa, and it's the view that maybe makes sense to me and you, particularly. But I don't think I'm guessing his particular hermeneutic would not allow for that. If you take like a literal hermeneutic and you're going to say no, it's all literal and so on and so forth. The option of just saying, well, this one's metaphorical, or it was this way and it's not this way now, I don't think that's sort of, I don't know word well enough or hear enough of his content to know, but I think that would go against his sort of foundational way he interprets the Bible.
Not really. I just did this because I know he was going to bring it up, right? Because I didn't like Max said, they're not going to let me divorce myself from the Old Testament, right? It's just something that some hard passages on the surface to answer for, and I didn't want to seem like I was running away from it, because of course Nadir would have called me out. Pretty sure Max would have called me out too if I was debating him on doing it. So I just swallowed the pill, gave my best explanation for it, given the context within the Bible. But I do agree with Isa on the surface that no, we're under a New Testament, a new covenant, that this is the Old Testament, but and we don't practice this and we don't, condone it. But this is right here, Nadir and Max, or somebody like Max, they wouldn't let me just get off by saying that. They would have tried to pin me to the Old
No,
Testament.
you're 100% right. If you would just completely say, oh no, that's just the Old Testament, I would be salivating. I would be foaming at the mouth. Basil Problems for $5 says fascist playtime begins soon over on MDD. Maybe Big Mike will be hosting. Yeah, but that debate is today. They're talking about the ICE incident from last week with Pretty, I think was his name. And that is extremely upsetting. So we're going to have fun with Nadir, and I'm going to completely omit that. If it turns out to be a good debate, we'll review it later. But no, I'll pass. Let's carry on.
It says, "Oh, believers."
And for those of you that were wondering on Words Chat, I'm from Uruguay and I'm an atheist. I'm not a Muslim.
The law of retaliation is set for you in case of murder. A free man for a free man, a slave for a slave, and a female for a female. But if the offender is pardoned by the victim's guardian, the blood money should be decided fairly, and payment should be made courteously. So you see that if I was to unalive Nadir's slave, then he would have to unalive my slave. So that means I get off scot-free and I don't have to suffer a penalty. My slave will. Now, do this sound like a one statutes, laws, and commandments that the slave is given just as the owner? No, of course not. If we read it,
I think that's particularly
in the hadiths,
bad in the.
Boy, that is nasty.
Right. So I'm not gonna, suffer for anything that I did if I, unalive Nadir's slave. He would be able to unalive my slave. But we see the quite opposite in the Bible. It's if you unalive anyone in the Old Testament specifically, you're gonna get unalive, whether it's a slave or a free man. You can't just go around unaliving people. And as far as chattel slavery, right? Slaves don't have no legislation. Like there's no, like you can literally if you was a slave, take your owner to the judge and get rulings about, being mistreated. And if you run away, you can't be returned. That's far from chattel slavery, right? So it's not like that in Islam. That's why I brought that point out.
Hadith 1602, right? It says that there came a slave and pledged allegiance to Allah's apostle on migration. He did not know he was a slave. Then there came his master and demanded him back, whereupon Allah's apostle said, sell him to me. And he bought him for 2 black slaves. And he did not afterwards take allegiance from anyone until he asked whether they was a slave or a free man. So we see that Muhammad himself is engaging in slave trading. He didn't only do one good. He took one out of slavery, supposedly, because he was a believer, but he exchanged them for 2 slaves. So he took one out, put 2. He just doubled up on the slave. That's the Black Friday sale that my big brother Scott usually brings up, right? We see time after time that Muhammad and someone will release a slave, and Muhammad will come back, and then he will override the ruling and give the slaves back to the owner, right? And we see time after time again in Sahih Muslim 1438 that when they go on expeditions, they took slave women and they had intercourse with them, essentially making them their sex slave.
All right, you got about a minute, 10 seconds left, buddy.
Sex slavery, brutal and cruel punishment, taking people without their consent, right, is all propagated and facilitated by their own prophet, because he was with them on these things, on these expeditions, and he allowed the brutality of slaves. Do we find some places where it says, don't hit your slave and don't? Yes, of course, I won't deny that. Well, then Muhammad is just a walking contradiction, because he's not practicing what he's preaching. He's allowing one standard and he's doing it and relegating and delegating his judgment arbitrarily, and he's a walking contradiction. So you don't know exactly whether he is for or against slave, and more than likely he is for slavery, because he continued it and practicing it. And there is no strict ruling that says that you cannot have chattel slavery in Islam. That'll be it.
All right. That was your time there, Word. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I just what I did there, I just brought it in. Of the 5 standards that I brought up earlier, I showed that it's this that fits, the category of chattel slavery in Islam. And he didn't ever want to talk about the sex slave thing, because he knows for sure that they had sex slaves, like literally.
Oh yeah, I mean there were. For the slave girls, you could have them breasts showing, and
breast
that kind
out,
of thing.
yeah.
It's breast out. It's it's pretty bad.
Here, just go ahead. Let me know when you want me to switch to screen share.
Yeah, can you switch to screen share right now, please?
All right.
Point. I'm sorry to tell you, but point for Nadir. That would have gone a lot better for you if we love a presentation here. It engages the people. It keeps, it gives them something to look at.
Yeah, I could have. I mean, I had my
verses.
right. I had all of my verses up on the what's the name, but Mike, he says it does wonky things with the presentation, going back and forth and putting it up. So I was like, all right, I won't bring up I won't show anything. So maybe Mike just was inexperienced with it, and James.
Yes, he's kind of a noob. I had to teach him how to get the sound properly.
Yeah, so I didn't want to prolong the debate any longer with him trying to bring up, my screen.
But we do love a presentation.
And another thing I would say, Max, before we jump on about that intro is, we also do like when people prepare an intro, actually prepare one.
Yes, 100%.
Yes, maybe a presentation would have been fine or whatever, but actually preparing one and like knowing what you're going to say is the most important thing. And absolutely that happened. I thought that was good. That some thought was put into it. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was a fine opening. I'm nitpicking because that's what we're doing right now, right? We're
it's a review, of course.
It's the review. But we've been doing this for 2 years straight, and that's something we always say, that the presentation is engaging. It helps people like really cement what you're saying. Especially if you're bringing up verses, seeing them for later reference and so on, it's always good. But it's fine, no problem.
All right, I can start my time right now. Thank you for that, for your opening presentation.
Wait, do I mind? Can I say one? I wanted to say one thing too. So
get ready. The light counter is going to start ticking very fast.
So
go ahead.
Well, I think Word did an excellent job in this opening. I do agree.
Yeah,
I was thinking, I'm like, if I saw a presentation, I think it would have really been a good counter to this. So like in the future, I think having visual displays are really helpful. I know I've seen it because I see you on TikTok all the time. You do usually have like a visual display behind you. I think that will help support the argument. I think you made very clean, crisp arguments. I gave sort of the commentary where I think that you could have enhanced your argument and position. But overall, it was really clean, easy to follow. You did a great you start off with a great definition. You made it follow. You explained how Judaism / Christianity. I think that's fair. We should kind of encapsulate it as that Judaism / Christianity, how it works and how it functions. And even if we are granting kind of, the most literalist interpretation of it, it's still not nearly as bad as your opponent's position. And I think you took sources from the Muslim position, and I think that made it really strong. You took sources from your position, you took sources from their position, you explained how your situation works using evidence-based situations, and then you looked at your opponent and said, look, you have all of these issues of how it plays out within your sources. So I think that was really strong. It's really good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Appreciate it.
I've been saving this one. It looks like you. Oh no, wait, sorry, not that one. This one. It looks like you have some Muslim haters. That's lovely.
Oh yeah, they always come in troll. They don't ever come
I
up
love
to talk. Though.
I mean, let me just tell them that I believe that your religion is false, but theirs. Whew,
I think you're new to debating. I think you've just watched TikTok videos
oh
and
my God, Nadir.
basically hung out in these echo chambers and got
Nah, that gets you
Lie
two
counter.
things.
Lie
That
counter.
gets you two things right there, Nadir. Oh boy, we're starting off with a bang. This is going to be great.
a lot of misinformation about Islam. The Islamic version of slavery is a self-terminating system. This is how Islam actually condemns
Lie.
slavery.
That's a lie.
Before I begin, I want to make
Yeah.
it clear. Slavery pre-existed before Islam. Islam cut off all the avenues for people to be enslaved except for the prisoners of wars,
No,
which is in line with the Geneva Convention.
no.
Slavery was practiced by almost all societies. So trying to
That's
point out, oh,
true.
look, Arabs did some slavery or something like that, that is a false argument that in no way reflects on Islam. Let me very quickly now begin by addressing some of the misinformation which my opponent gave. He said that there is sex slavery in Islam. There is none. I did a
Lie.
debate on this topic. If
Lie.
you get a chance,
Lie.
right here on Modern Day Debate. Just go
Oh
ahead and
my God, do you remember that debate, Isa? With heated debates? That was the worst. That was the worst debate of the history of the world. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Both were like absolutely horrible. We lost the review of that debate. It happened on the other thing.
Yeah, on the other
Ah,
channel.
That was so good.
The problem that
that,
I
right?
have with what you just said too is that he is taking no accountability.
None.
It's so bad. And I'm like, if Ward brought up Maria the Copt, I mean that's because he believes in all of these sources. He takes the position of all of this. So I'm like, Maria the Copt is pretty terrible, and so is Sophia, but we can talk about that later.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure.
share this topic and listen to my debate on that topic, in which you'll see there is no such thing. Okay, but the point which
Oh, that's
he
a
also said,
lie.
oh, Muhammad traded 2 slaves for 1 slave. Why is that? Again, let me repeat, Muhammad is not, the Prophet of Islam is not setting the price for any of this. Okay, so you've misunderstood the hadith. He's doing it because that 1 slave, his life was in danger. Because the text very clearly stated that he pledged allegiance to the Prophet of Islam, and those people were being tortured, so he's trying to save his life. But like I said, Muhammad is working within the framework which he's given. He's not endorsing any of that.
I don't know about that hadith in particular.
It's not. It doesn't say that. It says nothing like that. He literally lied on that.
Well, a lot of this is just not true. And again, if you bring up Maria the Copt, how did that happen? If he's not endorsing it, if this is the narrative of who he believes all of these sources are true, right?
Mhm.
If they're all true, then he's stuck with these types of things and he has to just deal with them. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Basically, he's just saying, like he's not.
And in the framing of Islam, the problem is that Christians and Jews can say like, yeah, we have this dark past. These were things that happened. You can give what I think are excuses that, well, God gave rules to the people according to what they were doing, and later society evolved, and you can do all that spiel. In Islam, you can't because of the concept of bid'ah, of innovation. So you're not supposed to innovate, which, I mean, it's very hard not to, because times change and so on. It's very hard to adhere to the concept of bid'ah. But they are at a disadvantage from the start when it comes to practices and dogma and doctrine, right?
So what I would
Yeah,
say is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Issa. I'll go.
The one thing I was to say that there is an out for, like, let's say progressive, spiritual, mystic Muslims. They can make that kind of argument that they're not connected. But yes, it's a lot harder if you're like a Salafi, or you're kind of like, you take this sort of orthodox hardline position, which seems to be very popular nowadays, which is what you're engaging with. It's much harder. I do believe that Islam is polythic and there are different avenues of Islam.
Mhm.
However, looking at Islam as a whole, do many Muslims actually believe this? Anthropologically and sociologically, that's the important question. It doesn't matter if there are minority groups that don't take that position. Do a lot of people do take this position? Do they agree with it? That's I think. And
right,
I
but
think that's what we're talking about.
would, like, even if you take that position, a hard liner, say Daniel Pikachu, they would shirk you to, they would shirk you to the end of the world.
And I
right?
think that's a big problem too that we see with modern Islam versus modern Christianity.
Shirk, no, I'm sorry, takfir.
Yeah,
Sorry, I got
takfir,
the words mixed up.
Well, no, but the things you takfir for shirk. But the problem is for like the Muslim audience, in dealing with the situation, if you take a modern Muslims and modern Christians, like let's say you don't agree with Hebrew Israelites or Jehovah's Witness or Unitarians or whatever, you could say, look, I think they're not doing it right, but you're not going to go persecute them. You're not going to execute them. You're not going to do that. You might take the position like, I don't think you're on in using Hebrew. You're not on the derech. You're not on the right path, right? And that's what I've seen with a lot of modern Christian apologists. They're like, yeah, these people, they're not doing the right thing. However, what we see in a lot of modern Muslim spaces, unfortunately, I hate to say this, you see a lot of modern Muslims persecuting. Like Pakistan is a perfect example. They persecute Ahmadiyya. They persecute Ismaili. They persecute Ithna Ashri Shias. They persecute anybody that does not fit their line. They will assault them. They will murder them. They will persecute them. This is a huge problem. This is a huge difference. And I think it's a valid difference that should be raised, I think.
Yeah, and I think one of the main reasons is that mostly for a Christian, we don't deny that this stuff even happened in our book. Like we believe that it's history and it's descriptive and it's telling you events that happened. Yeah, there's some pretty gruesome stuff in the Bible if you read it, you know what I'm saying, because people was doing some wild stuff, but it was just giving you the atmosphere and the context of what was happening at that time. It's not prescriptive, no, you know what I'm saying? It's not prescribing us to go and do these things. The the Quran reads more like a manifesto. Like you gotta this is what they're called to do. This is what they're called to do. But a lot of the stuff in the Old Testament is actually descriptive and it's just giving us stories and history about what happened. The Quran doesn't read like that. They don't believe their book is a history book.
Art Butler says strange accent. I'm from Uruguay. Deal with it. And I have a couple more. Hold on. Baby shark, baby shark. Sorry, had to. And Isa always make great points. He's a great guy to have on the panel. He's mine. So, no, I'm kidding.
He's just trying to save a life. But now let's look and see how Islam is this self-terminating system. What it is, a self-terminating system is a system.
Before we go on, do that make sense?
With
Do that make sense that he took one out and put two back in?
And I mean that seems just like
that's not helping.
I don't know the hadith, but I'm pretty sure that it has to do with the value. That's what I've heard before. Like for example, the testimony of two women is worth one of two men, right? I'm sorry, two women is worth one man.
Yeah,
and I think that's, but I don't know the hadith. I don't know.
The heading of it is selling animals for animals of the same kind but different quality. That's the heading of it, and this is the hadith under it.
I mean, yeah, that's okay. So yeah, white slaves there were worth more than Arabs and so
probably
on.
So. But
because
if
they were more exotic to them.
Right. And if that dude was in trouble by, I guess by his owner, he's taking him out, but he's putting two back in. They're in danger. I mean, wouldn't they be in danger as well? Like it just don't make sense.
And here, for those of you in words chat, I have one rule for debates. If you say bro in a debate, you lost. It doesn't matter. Whatever you say, whatever you do, if you're trying to have a serious intellectual conversation and you call someone bro, that's it. You're done. This rule I will implement now. If you appeal to the freaking clankers, you're also done. If you're letting a machine do the thinking for you, which they can't do, it's just text stuff, it's predictive nonsense, you lost. Nadir, making an argument, and I would love if we could formalize the argument from clanker fallacy. That would be that would be the best, because this is the crux of his whole argument. Just AIs, I can get AIs to say what I want. Is just insane, like literally insane. So Nadir, I'm going to give you 2 links on the like counter just for that.
Internal virus so that it will kill itself. This is how Islam condemns slavery. Some systems are intentionally designed to contain rules that eventually destroy themselves. So let's take a look at these malicious viruses that causes the system collapse of slavery. It states very clear. Let's go to the first one right here. It states, and this is, let me make this a little bit bigger for everybody. A man was beating his slave. The Prophet ﷺ said, and then he immediately saw the Prophet of Islam. I'm gonna paraphrase very quickly. Just please, just hit,
The hell are
freeze
you
on your
doing,
YouTube
Nadir?
channel so that you can get all my notes. Going to go through this very quickly. I apologize about that. So, or just hit pause. I'm sorry. So it says the Prophet of Islam said, had you have not freed your slave, basically, the gates of hell would have opened up for you. So if you beat a slave, you will go to hell. Another hadith. A man beat his slave.
What? When I was beating my servant, I heard a voice behind me saying, Abu Masud, bear in mind Allah has more dominance over you than you have upon him. I turned and found him to be Allah's messenger. I said, Allah's messenger, I set him free for the sake of Allah. Thereupon he said, had you not done that, the gates of hell would have opened for you, or the fire would have burned you. But that is not like a general prescription. That's a particular, right, Isa?
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think this is a good argument. And I think this is a problem because in this position, this is why I would never take this type of debate. You have to take a mea culpa and just be like, yep, if I'm going to take the Orthodox Sunni approach, I have to accept these teachings. I don't really have a leg on to stand on to attack my predecessors. And this is my biggest problem that I see with a lot of modern Muslim debaters, is they do not want to own Judaism and Christianity. They don't want to own Judaism and Christianity, and that creates problems. You know?
Oh my God, Nadir's in the chat. Hey, Nadir, when are you going to debate me, Nadir? I've been waiting for 2 years.
Yeah, he's been sending me all kinds of emails, like trying to rebut me in the email.
Oh my,
Like,
Nadir, I'm going to tell you a little anecdote. Nadir got absolutely destroyed by my friend Mark Reed. And then Nadir spent about a week emailing me, trying to get me to admit that Nadir had won the debate against Mark, which was absolutely insane. And I'm going to tell you another little anecdote. Nadir had a debate with an atheist, and he tried to force the atheist to defend the Bible. Nadir's whole argument was the Quran is better than the Bible, and he was debating an atheist. Like,
oh, you're talking about with
Voldemort,
past. Yes. The thing that I have an issue with is how, as a Muslim, can you condemn the Bible? It is a part of the creed of faith. You cannot argue phantom texts. Like, again, like when I've heard this, I'm like, this is ridiculous. It is one of the creeds of faith. You need to believe in Allah. You have to believe in the angels. You have to believe in the prophets. You know what else you have to believe in? The books.
The book,
That's Sufi Ibrahim, Suhufi wa Musa, Suhuf wa Musa, Suhuf Ibrahim. You have to believe in the Torah. You have to believe in the Zabur, and you have to believe in the Injil. You have to believe in all these texts. You don't just get to magically write it away and say, well, it corrupted it. Well, what happens is that God corrupted these texts then. It's a terrible position. It's a worse position than just to take the ball.
yeah.
Please, if you have the moderators on Words Chat, if you can do me a favor, let Nadir derp out, because it's my guilty pleasure. Do it as a favor for me, because I mean he's crashing out already, and I love this.
Well, I always tell my moderators, if someone is just flat out disagreeing in the chat, just let them stay. Like, they don't, you don't have to. But if they're being nasty, cursing, threatening.
Oh no, please
but I don't think he's going to do that.
Nadir says that's because all the Christians ran away from debating the side. Nadir, you're running away. You've been running away for 2 years of that same debate with me. Because I'll destroy you. You will never recover from that. They will be the end of your career. What?
I think
Right,
that's
let's
just a dumb
continue.
argument to scientific miracles. That
Oh
thing
my
is-
god, it's it's the dumbest thing that that Muslims say. That's the dumbest argument ever, because all of that is wrong. It's all of their scientific miracles are just incorrect.
They're all post
ooh,
hoc too. They wouldn't have ever predicted what happened, right? They just tried to read it back into it, which is
100%, yeah.
a little too convenient.
Sorry, I was covering your face, but DFTHG for $5 on Words Chat. Thank you so much for that. Nadir is mysteered by Muhammad Shaitan. Whew. Okay. I need to go to the toilet for a second, so I'll let this play out and I'll be right back.
Have not freed your slave, basically, the gates of hell would have opened up for you. So if you beat a slave, you will go to hell. Another hadith. A man beat his slave because for a particular reason. And so what did the slave do? Did he just take it? No. He went to the Prophet Muhammad and told him what this guy, he basically snitched on him and said, this is what this man did to me. The Prophet of Islam went right over to the house and says, do not beat a slave. And then finally, the Prophet of Islam says, do not punish Allah's creatures, referring to the slaves, as you can see from the reference here. So this is causing system collapse. Why? Slave beating is so important in slavery. Why? That's why the Bible endorses it both in the Old Testament and the New Testament. But not only that, but it actually blesses the slave beating, and we'll look at those verses in just a minute here. But that's how you get the maximum work. If you don't beat a slave, what is he going to do? He's just going to sit around and just laugh at you. So the very core of slavery is now being demolished by the Prophet of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, one thing I want to point out, it doesn't, what Islam did, it took the whip out of the slave master's hand and put it into the hands of the state. So yes, you will see some slaves getting whipped, but not because they're slaves, but because they committed fornication, they drank alcohol, and there's a whole list of people getting slaved, free people getting whipped, but it's not because of slavery, okay? So I just want to make that one caveat. It's not against corporal punishment, but it needs to be fair for everybody, for free people as well as slaves. Okay, so that's the first virus in the system. Let's take a look at another one, and this should pretty much end the debate right here. It states over here in the Quran, the slavery is very temporary. First of all,
Do you mind if I say something
It says over
here?
here inside chapter 24, verse 33 of the Quran.
I can't pause
if any of your
so-
servants wish to be freed,
Okay.
grant them their wish if you
I
recognize.
don't know if I
good
can.
Sorry, I'm back. Yes.
I wanted to say something. I wanted to make a
yes.
quick comment on this. My issue is, and this is an issue I have with any Muslim debater that wants to throw this stuff away. You are tied to this. Where do you think the laws of Islam come from? Do you think they came from nowhere? The premise of Islam is it is an ancient tradition that has started from the beginning of time. It's so started from Adam all the way to the Prophet of Islam. That is the position of Islam, right? So if you try to deny the history, then you're basically denying Islam. It's a very strange position that I see Muslims do. Just because the things don't necessarily correlate, you can't take that position. Because where does your stuff come from? It comes from the Torah. It comes from the Zabur. It comes from the Injil. That's what the Quran says. Claiming they're phantom texts and saying, you know what? They're not actually real. They're not real texts. I'm like, or they were changed. I'm like, you're saying a tiny little human can come in and change the word of God, and there's a global conspiracy? Because you're not just arguing that a couple people were in a back room, going, I'm twiddling my fingers to change all the holy texts and manipulate the masses. No, you have to argue a global conspiracy. You have to argue that all of these people around the world worked in tandem to manipulate and corrupt the text. This is ridiculous. It's ahistorical. This is why you can't debate these positions. It's a losing ground.
Oh, yeah.
And it just does not work. And your position is that you do believe in books, not phantom books, real books. I don't know.
Do you know if he takes the position of corruption?
He has to. He
Yeah,
has
he
to
has
take that
to.
position. Because why would he care? Why would he critique the Bible? He has to critique the Bible because he thinks it's false, right?
Oh boy.
The thing is, you can't believe the Bible's false.
I love Nadir crashing out is just the best. Christianity is finished. Well, I mean, I don't
Some you
there's
agree
no-
on,
there-
Max. Max, you agree. Come on.
No, I don't even agree on that. Teaches the unjust slave beating is the calling in life for the slave. Wait, what?
It's illogical.
Are
It's
you
irrational.
sure, Nadir? Wait, let's just double check on that. First Timothy 2:1-21. 1 second. I have Bible Gateway open here. First Timothy 2:21.
Max, I gotta say, you might read more Bible verses than some Christian friends I know. You're really getting into the text over there.
I love the text. I love I love cooking Christians with their own text. It's the funnest ever. First
thing-
Timothy 2:21.
One thing about what Nadir is saying, the self-terminating system, with putting viruses in it. Why wouldn't Muhammad just say, "Don't do it"?
That
That'd
was
be-
what I was gonna say. Okay, so let me get this out. Sorry, Ward, I'm probably stealing your thunder, but this was driving
Nah,
me
go
nuts.
ahead.
I'm reading the text, and the guy beats his slave. I'm listening to the text. The guy beats his slave. He comes to Muhammad. He says, "Hey, this guy's beating me," And the guy goes to the slave owner, and what does he say? As a non-Muslim, it seems like the answer should be here. What do you got this slave for? Like, what's this slavery thing? Let this guy go. No, he doesn't say that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't beat him quite so bad, right? Like, as a person who never had heard this story before, it just seems so obvious that the way this story should go and everything but like this ancient, religious text is Muhammad would come and say, "Hey, don't have slaves." And that is not what he does. And I think if you didn't grow up Muslim, like this, or hadn't already been weren't quite like invested in it, that story just doesn't seem right. Like, that's not how Muhammad should have responded. And I don't know, Word, if that's what you're gonna say, but that's
Yeah,
the first
exactly.
thing I thought.
Because he said that Muhammad got rid of slavery, right? That he got rid of all of slaves. Like, he just outlawed slavery. But that's not what we see. We see him engaging in selling slaves and allowing other people to have slaves. He didn't ever once say, "Hey, just get rid of all the slaves. Why are you with this slave?" Now, the thing that's different between me and him, he's just denying everything about slavery, period. Like, Muslims, like Muhammad, never did these things. I'm acknowledging that there is a system that was set up in the Old Testament to where people can actually, sell themselves to other people and they can do that, but don't just mistreat them. But he's acting like this is just the most far-fetched thing in Islam, like owning people. Like, no, that's in this self-terminating system thing he came up with, viruses and all that. It's just crazy.
Nadir, I think you got the verse wrong. Like, because I'm 2 Timothy.
What is it? What did he say the reference was?
Yeah, it was Second
Timothy
Timothy
2 is the-
2:21. It doesn't.
It's First Timothy. He said.
First Timothy
Ah,
2:21. I want
First
to.
Timothy 2, but it doesn't. I don't see a 21 here. No, I think
There
you
may
got the
not be
verse
20.
wrong.
Yeah, I don't. There may not
Nadir,
be.
Yeah.
correct that, please.
I wanted to make an argument too here. The thing is, there's a surah in the Quran called Surah Al-Anfal. It's chapter 8. The issue is, it's called the spoils of war. That's a part of the doctrine. That if you're taking a very literalistic interpretation, spoils of war include enslaving people. Like, if you win, you get the booty of war. So I'm like, you just
Booty.
can't say that. You just can't say that. And people did do that. When they won wars, women were taken primarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I would make the argument that Muhammad died on 632, and from the 16th to the 19th century, we had the Barbary pirates doing all kinds of mayhem in North Africa. Oh, Nadir, you're crashing out. I love it.
Well, I mean,
I
that would
actually
be-
brought up that the sub-Saharan trade, slave trade.
Oh
that-
no, but no, it's not sub-Saharan. It's the
it's the East
North-
African.
it's
Oh, the Eastern
North
Africa.
Africa. Yeah.
There's
Okay,
the East. There's the
okay.
East African slave trade, and it's interesting because I was an Africology major in undergrad, and my teacher was really hostile to both Islam and Christianity. And this is where I first learned about it. There was this guy named Tipu Tip, and they just did this. They castrated people. It was one of the most horrific things that happened. The East African slave trade, in some ways, might be even worse than the transatlantic slave trade. It's that
Yep.
bad. It was
It's-
so horrible and bad, and they should teach it in history. And I learned about it because I had a Hotep Africology teacher who kind of was like, you need to know this. And I was like, whoa, this is like great, you know.
In them. Any good you see, allow the slave to go free. Now, it's very important that we interpret it the way Muhammad interpreted it. The Prophet of Islam said, I'm sorry, in the following hadith, which we see over here, Allah's messenger did not leave a dinar, nor a dirham, nor a male or female slave. He freed all his slaves at death. So slavery, which we see, which actually is not slavery now. Why? Because by definition, forced labor is part of slavery, but Islam doesn't have forced labor, as we can see. Let's take a look. If that's not clear enough for you, let's take a look, which goes more into the detail here. Okay. So it says over here, in fact, oops, wrong reference here. One of the hadith has said over here, if your slave gets tired, or do not overburden him if he gets tired. Well, what's a slave master going to do? It says, okay, let me read it carefully here. You should not overburden them when they cannot bear, and if you do so, you got to go help them. At this point, we have system collapse. Why? Because what the hadith is stating over here, it's now introducing this confusion that, okay, what do you mean by he's overburdened or something like that? It's all up to the slave. So now the large scale, and it says you got to go help him. Nobody has time for that. If you were to give me a slave and every time he gets a problem, go help him, I couldn't do it. So this is system collapse. The entire slavery system is collapsing right before our very own eyes. And then finally, let's go to the second hadith. All the slaves get VIP access. It states here, a slave girl of Medina would take a hold of the hand of the Prophet and take him wherever she desired. So basically,
you'll find me in the club. Like, what the hell was that? VIP access.
You get VIP straight to the
God.
velvet carpet, man.
Oh my God, Nadir. Oh, that's why you're my favorite debater ever. Because, like, you can't be that serious. You can't be just saying that the slaves got VIP access. What the hell are you talking about?
Another thing I noticed, and sometimes I've seen Christian apologists fall into this trap as well. It's like suddenly Muhammad is like so weak and pathetic. The only way he can get rid of slavery is this sneaky backdoor of system collapse where he plants a virus, blah, 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 blah. Why doesn't Muhammad just say, hey guys, no more slaves? Like, what a weak sissy. Like, I mean, goodness gracious. I don't know if sissy is an appropriate word or whatever, but like, it's just like, goodness sakes, what just an absolute weakling. I mean, just so pathetic. Just say, hey guys, it's bad. No. He's got to supposedly plant a virus and then being like, oh no, he let his slaves go once he died. Oh, he got all the benefits from it. And then, what does he care after that? Like, I mean, that is not bravery. That's ridiculous.
It is. It's quite funny.
Basically, every slave kind of turns into a rat or a snitch, because he's going to report what you're doing in the home. Now, how would you treat a slave like that? So this is how, if you look at how slavery is supposedly, the rules of slavery, it causes system collapse. So no, Islam does not endorse slavery in any way. And then finally, the last point I'd like to bring up on this, which the Quran says, which in the Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, I need to go very quickly. You give them the best education. So why is slavery temporary in Islam? So that you got a period to give them the what? The best education. Okay, so that is a so-called.
Wait. Oh, look at the text that is there. Whoever has a slave woman and teaches her good manners and educates her, then sets her free and marries her, will have two rewards. Nadir, that's coercion. Like, that is absolutely appalling. Because, I mean, that's a bribe. Like, I'll set you free if you marry me. That woman has no choice. That is wild that you would show that. Any man from among the people of the book who believe in his prophet and believed in Muhammad will have two rewards. Any slave who does his duty towards Allah and towards his masters will have two rewards. Sahih Sali said, Shabi said, I have given this to you for little effort on your part. A rider would travel to Al Medina for less than this. Oh,
yeah, and then
go ahead. Sorry,
I'm not familiar with the exact number statistic on the literacy rate in the Middle East in the 7th century. Pretty sure it's not that high. So
Well,
who's
I mean,
te-
it wasn't
so who
high until much later.
right. So who's teaching these slaves how to read and write? Who's doing this? Because the vast majority of people were illiterate.
Yeah. I mean, and if you want to be, it is because of the Christians that they expanded,
Exactly.
they created universities, and they taught people and so on. And
This
yeah,
so that you can tell this hadith is very anachronistic. It don't even belong in this, because who's going to be teaching these slaves if the vast majority of people themselves are illiterate?
it's a weird thing.
Give them the what? The best education. Okay, so that is a so-called slavery in Islam, which actually, by definition, it's not slavery.
I've been forgetting about the counter. Let me give Nadir just 10 dings for the heck of it.
I'm pretty sure you can find 10 of them in there.
It's something else. Now let's turn our attention to the Bible. In the Bible, it fully endorses slavery. Paul. Now,
Oh, Nadir, that's 2 more things for using ChatGPT. I mean, if you're going to do a machine, why Word could have just debated ChatGPT. And Nadir, you have your ChatGPT pre-trained to give you the answers that you want. That is extremely dishonest.
there's some very good verses which do talk about being loving with a slave and stuff like that, but that's all an endorsement. Paul shows his complete and unwavering loyalty to support the violent, psychopathic slave master. He protects his power structure, and it is the slave master, not the slave, which is given VIP treatment. Let's take a look at those verses here real quick. Now, here we see a picture of these slaves with their hands cut off by their slave master. This is actually a true story here. What did the Bible say about this? It says,
I don't know why he put that picture up. That's like from
Over the top, Nadir, unnecessary. You could have just said it.
it states right here, in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 18 through 24, servants, be submissive to your masters with all fear, not only to the good, but also to the harsh. So there you go. There's your chattel slavery, which he was denying, but it goes first. Remember, this is talking.
Nadir, harsh does not mean psychopathic. That is
Exactly.
completely wrong. And if you want to be pedantic about it, there were rules about how much violence you could exert on the slaves. Does it have some does that claim have some problems? Yes, but you're completely missing the mark on that here, Nadir. Sorry.
About the psychopathic slave master because he's just punishing him for no reason. It states, for it is commendable if
That
because
gets
of
you
your
3.
conscience towards God, one endures grief and suffers wrongfully. So you're not doing anything wrong, but you're still getting a beating. For what credit is it? Is if when you are beaten for your faults, you take it patiently. So you should take the beating patiently. But Muhammad condemned it, said you are going to go to the hellfire. And then finally the verse ends. It states over here, and to this you are called. What are you being called to? What is your calling in life? To be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer? No, but to get a vicious slave beating / torture from your slave master. It states here inside verse.
For what credit is it if when you're beating for your fault, you take it patiently? But when you do good and suffer, if you take it patiently, this is commendable before God. For to this you were called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps, who committed no sin, nor was deceit found in his mouth. I mean, he's making an analogy here, Nadir, as how suffering can be redeeming. I don't think that even I wouldn't take this as Paul like endorsing slavery.
Yeah, and that's what I told him mid-debate. Like, it's saying that, these people are going through hardships, right? And he's not calling up arms and take up arms against your masters, but you'll be basically, Jesus will redeem because he also suffered at the hands of, and he was innocent in that aspect. So conform yourself to be more like Christ. That's all that is saying, that he didn't want to do.
Just MJ3 says, come to Christ, Max. No, thank you. I've read the book and I'm fine.
Verse 21, in no unclear terms. For to this you were called. So here's my question for my opponent. Look at these children with these amputees. Their hands were cut off because they could not meet the quotas. Is this beating, this torture, is this their calling in life? The Bible says so. So my opponent needs to answer that. So what also I want to bring up in this verse, if you look at it, it is talking not just about the
All right,
evil side.
That is your
If
10
you give me one more minute, I
there.
think you said
Go ahead and
1 minute.
wrap it up real quick. with
Oh, sure.
the last minute.
The Bible is talking about the psychopath because the text very clearly says there,
Harsh is not psychopath. Don't do that. Like that's a silly word game, Nadir.
for it is commendable if because of your consciousness towards God, one endures grief and suffering wrongfully, meaning you didn't do anything wrong, but he's just bullying you. But what you should notice is that the injustice by the slave master was never corrected.
I got
The
you.
moral burden is placed entirely on the abused party, and the abuser is never addressed or restrained. That is because the Bible, what Paul is doing, he's trying to appease a slave master. He wants the slave master to think that slavery is cool and that slavery is, that
What? What?
Yeah.
Like, what? Oh my, that gets you a couple of digs.
that this is going to help him in his cause, so that he can teach Christianity to the beaten slaves which he holds in power.
All
So
right.
this is your chattel slavery right here.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys doing your opening.
Is he addressing, but is
I know
Paul
some people-
addressing the slave owner or is he addressing the slaves? Right,
No,
right.
I take it as he was addressing the slave and
Exactly.
kind of making an analogy on even how you can, when living a life of extreme suffering, you can still be redeemed.
Yeah, and
Dude,
I'm
if
not
I
even- and that
if I
wasn't
as
the-
a filthy atheist can understand that, like I
And
don't get
it's-
how you now you don't understand that.
and that's not written in a prescriptive way, right? It's written in a descriptive way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Analogies are hard.
keep saying that my mic's not very loud, so just give me a
Oh,
quick check on
Mike
that.
with
It's
the
not about me,
sound
guys, but I appreciate
problems.
you wanting to hear me a little better. Is that better for
Mhm.
the sound people?
It's a little bit less, but I can hear you. I can hear you.
I think it'll mainly come through in the stream,
Mhm. Okay.
not you guys on the Zoom. Awesome.
Oh. What is
Why does
this?
he use Zoom? Why does he still use Zoom? Why doesn't he use StreamYard?
Because Zoom costs like $20 and StreamYard costs $100.
Yeah, I guess. It's just
Not really. I
doesn't
mean,
seem
you
worth
paid
it.
$100? That's crazy.
Me? Yeah.
Why?
Well, but we do open panels and we want to have like all the people. Yeah, we pay the full
I think you can get that with like $40 a month or something like that. The same
Yeah,
amount of
but
people.
I also have Isa and Dr. J as team members, and they can do everything.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, we pay the full price. All right.
Okay, so
I'm
one
sorry.
more
Wait,
time.
I was going to address this. Islam is the only religion acknowledged that females have power of newborns. Also, females can give birth to one newborns at time yearly. So burden is taken from them by allowing husband more wives. Oh my God. No, not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
And thanks for watching Modern Day Debates. Go ahead and get a ticket for DebateCon 7 for 20% off right here with this code, 20 firm stream. We're about, and also final word members. I believe
one
you
cares.
will have access to all the live streams from DebateCon 7 coming up. So go ahead and subscribe to that. Awesome. So you guys want to do the 2 minutes back and forth
Yes, please.
until we can kind of see what the
Mhm.
rhythm is? All right.
Yep.
Well, I'll let Word go since you just did your opening, and we'll keep it going back and forth. You got 2 minutes, Word. Go ahead,
You
starting
see,
now.
we had agreed that we were only
Well-
going to do this for like maybe half the time, half of the 50 minutes.
Mhm.
But he didn't want to, because I wanted to have a more of an open dialogue so I can press him on some of the information he was getting.
Uh-huh.
But he didn't never want to do that. He wanted to just stay 2 minutes, like we're trading monologues at that point. And it's
Yeah.
just that's not how I wanted a real cross exam to go.
I prefer a more, just a normal conversation than the time sections. It's over formatted, I say.
Nadir just simply lied all over the place, just like he accused me of doing of watching TikTok videos and doing he just pulling all of this stuff from his imagination. He's got delusion of grandeur. I don't know where he's pulling all of this stuff from, but if you specifically read the text, he just lied and said, well, Muhammad freed all the slaves. Really, Muhammad freed all of the slaves. What about Bilal? Bilal wasn't freed. That was his main slave. What about Anjasha? All of these, Bilal and Anjasha never got freed. Bilal got bought by Abu Bakr, and he petitioned Abu Bakr to say, if you have bought me as a slave, then you should set me free. If you bought me for the sake of Allah, then you must set me free. When did this happen? After his prophet died. His prophet was already dead, and he was still there was still slaves in the Arabian Peninsula, even under his own watch. Slavery wasn't abolished in the Arabian Peninsula until like 1958. And it was only due because of the force of the Western nations putting on the Arabs. They practiced in slavery for 1,300 years, and he's sitting here trying to compare it to the Atlantic slave trade, which happened 400 years. 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years, 900 and some years more did the Arabs practice in slave trade. Muhammad did not free slaves. He did not do anything to abolish slavery. He actually practiced and propagated, and he benefited off of the backs of slaves.
All righty, that was 2 minutes. Just for someone in the chat who had misunderstood, we're not going to go to members only chat right now. It's like the last 10, 15 minutes or something. And I never said that. James is actually the one who turns that on, or the bots do, or the mods. I'm not certain. It's not me. Don't worry. But we're going to hit it over to Nadir now. Guys, get your super chats in, because I have a feeling, you'll like to hear what these guys have to say. So we'll read all those at the end after this.
Do you mind if I make a quick comment on that?
No problem. Yes.
I think that this is a problem for Nadir. Trying to write away the involvement of Muslims in enslavement is like trying to divorce it and say, well, this is just Arabs. I'm sorry, sir. Arab identity is completely intertwined with Islam. Many of these ancient groups, and this is just my big problem, it's like you're not being honest. I'm like, if you identify as an Arab, you're going to usually identify as a Muslim. Most Middle Eastern people, and Ward knows this, because he has a lot of Christian Middle Eastern people, a lot of them identify as Assyrian. They identify as Canaanite. Many do not even identify as this term Arab, because Arab is intertwined with Islam. This is an important thing to know. So there are some Christians who call themselves Arabs, but it's very rare. Many Middle Eastern Jews do not call themselves Arab either. They call themselves Mizrahi, or Sephardi. So this term Arab is connected to Islam. So trying to just say, well, that's just Arab and Islam is something different. No, the culture of Arabian culture and Islamic culture are intertwined. And if you look at Islamic culture, a lot of it is Arabian, wearing clothes.
I did the other day that we were talking about this. I did a little Venn diagram. So we have Arabs is the group in which you have Arab Jews, Arab Christians, and so on. So, and then you have Muslims. The subgroup of the Venn diagram is the group of Muslims is contained within the Arabs, at the very least at the start of Islam. So it would be not all Arabs are Muslim, but all Muslims are Arabs at the beginning, Nadir.
Yeah, it's true. And there may have been a few folks, but right in the very beginning, it would have been all Arabs. That is correct.
Yeah. I mean, he unified the
Arabian Peninsula. That's correct.
Of Arab, of like mushrikun Arabs.
So yeah, and this is the issue. It's like this identity marker. It does, because where is the indigenous Middle Eastern religions? Most of them have been wiped out. That's kind of the byproduct of what happened in the Arabian Peninsula, and that's what occurred. But I think it is a fascinating thing to try to divorce Arabian culture from Islam and just say, well, these are just Arabs. I said, Islam is very heavily influenced by Arabian culture. The clothing, there's a hadith about a siwak or a miswak, right, that you use to clean your teeth, that they say about hitting that's what it means to hit the wife, right?
The wife, yeah.
Exactly. So, it's
which is false, by the way.
But the thing is, if we grant that this is Middle Eastern culture, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Dates, all of this stuff is all Middle Eastern. It's all Arab.
Even their clothes, their hairdress, everything.
Everything. It's all Arab. You can't just throw it away and say, yeah, Arab has nothing to do with it. That is deeply problematic. And I'm going to take the South Asian culture. Take Pakistani Muslims. They work extremely hard to be Arab. Their caste system, so Muslims have a caste system just like Hindus do. The highest level of the Muslim caste system in South Asia is how Arab you are. I'm not joking. You're from the Quraysh family. You're a Sayyid. You're a Sheikh. It's all about how Arab you are and how little South Asian you are and more how Arab you are. It's crazy. So there's this worshiping of Arab identity. It's insane.
Yeah.
There is a heavy worship of Arab identity. And a lot of Pakistanis are like, I'm really Arab. They don't really know Arabic. They're also very Persianized. They don't even realize they're Persianized element. They're Farsiized. They're Arab, and then they want to be Arab. It's tragic. It's a tragic story. And I'm sure you've seen this too, Mort, about like even in the African-American Black community, there's this obsession with Arabness.
Oh yeah.
And erasing, Black identity. It's very crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now I don't mean to talk down to you, but let's just call it out. All of what I've presented, I showed references. Can you share my screen there real quick? References for what I've said. Look, I am looking to have an intelligent debate. That means you must respond to my arguments and references. So if you can share my screen, Mike, just so I can read let's read the hadith very carefully. It states here, Allah's messenger did not leave a dinar nor a dirham or male or a female slave. Okay, this is the hadith right here. This is from Sahih Bukhari. And I also show the verse of the Quran that if any of your servants wish to be freed, grant them their wish, if you recognize some good in them. As for Bilal was freed. I don't know what your reference that he remained a slave. I think it is you who's making things up. But what I want to emphasize here.
Sorry, did you want to say something?
No, that was the moderator, Mike.
Sorry. Booty call.
Today, we need to speak from references. Now, the references are presented from you, and I expect, if you don't have the intelligence, listen, if you don't have the intelligence to debate me, rather you just double down on what you're saying, then you should let your audience know that so they're not wasting their time. Now,
Disgusting.
The Bible does explicitly say, let's read very carefully in verse 21 here.
It's like the third
I have it
insult that
highlighted.
he's brought at me, and I'm trying my hardest not to take the bait, and then probably about a little later I'm like, all right, you done threw too many of them at me. I'm gonna give it back to you. So
And he attacks David Wood and God Logic. What does that have to do with this? And I've noticed a lot of Muslim debaters do this. Why are you attacking God Logic? Why are you attacking David Wood? Why are you attacking Apostate Prophet, IP? They're not a part of the conversation. Leave these people out of it. Focus on who's here.
exactly.
That's wild to bring up other people. But I mean, we do have Nadir doing that, like being completely unaware of the debate he's in when he debated Voldemort, asking him to defend the Bible. Like, dude, he's a freaking atheist. He doesn't have to defend the Bible. He doesn't care.
You were called because Christ suffered for you, leaving you as an example. What is the context here? Can you share my screen real quick there, Mike?
It's
so that they can see the verse?
I'm paying attention.
Okay, because I don't see my screen share. Okay.
Can you share my screen? Can you share my screen, Mike? 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 How many times did we hear that?
Yeah, but we covered that, Nadir, and you're equating harsh with psychopathic, which is not even close. Not even close.
Through 24, that the slave beating / torture of the evil, harsh slave master, this is your calling in life. So I will repeat my question again. Look at these amputees, these children with these are little black boys with their hands amputated. My question to you is this their calling in life?
Nadir, that will get you 5 dings every time.
All right,
have
excellent.
100 in a
The deer
minute.
needs to be knocked off his high horse because he's not dealing with what I'm saying. He's coming up and all he's doing is showing contradictions within his own Hadith literature, because just like Islam, it never makes up his mind and is always pulling from, I don't know what he's in these sources, but they're just contradictions on what the other Hadith says. Because if you read Sahih al-Bukhari 3755, there's your reference for you, Nadir. Nadir, it says, Bilal said to Abu Bakr, if you have bought me for yourself, then keep me for yourself. But if you have bought me for Allah's sake, then leave me for Allah's word. He was petitioning him to be let free. To be let free. He was still a slave, and this happened after your prophet had died. All right. Now let's get to Timothy and First Peter, because he says that Peter is, Paul, right, is condoning slavery. He's condoning slavery. But if you read in 1 Timothy 1:10, it says the sexual immoral, men who practice homosexuality, enslavers, liars, perjurers, and whatever else is contrary to sound doctrine. Paul is explicitly saying that enslavers will not make it into heaven because it is contrary to sound doctrine. And he also petitioned for Philemon to be released as a slave. If he's going to propagate this madness, he's going to have to show me sources of early Christians that practiced and held slavery in regard. Like I can show him that most of the Sahaba and Tabi'in practiced in slavery even before and after his prophet Muhammad.
Thank you very much. I don't know why it keeps going off when I don't have it set to ring. Okay, we'll go over to Nadir now. Another 2 minutes. If you guys feel like you could.
No, I think 2 minutes is good. This is good. I
do
mean,
it
I think
in,
it's, also,
he wants to keep this format.
Okay.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah, because I wanted to, press him on a lot of stuff he started saying, but he want to keep this format.
Because it's a strategy, and we see that a lot. We deal a lot with flat earthers and so on, and we do see that a lot with flat earthers. They really like that. Jeff McPherson says it's hilarious to me that even an atheist sees Nadir's argument straight out of his butt. I mean, I try to be honest with what I see and how I call it. Like I did call word for something that I thought was incorrect, right? But Nadir is he's just the worst, and it's not that hard to call out how bad his arguments are.
So we're starting now.
As you can see, he's running away from the verse which explicitly states that the slave beating / torture is the slave's calling in life.
Oh, now we got torture added to it. Okay. Every time, it's like the fisherman's tale. Every time it gets retold, the fish keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until I got a whale with a fishing rod. Good job, Nadir.
He's running away from that. But you're not going to look, where are you going to run to? I'm not going to let you go. Now, he also misrepresented the Bible where he talked about Philemon.
Didn't I already answer this?
Onesimus, that never happened.
Then I just answered it. I just answered both of them. And he's saying I'm running, and he's not. I'm like, I already answered it. I just answered. I just deal with it. But he's not going with it.
In the world of flat earth debate, that's what we call a flurf reset. So they completely ignore what you said and they reset back to their original point completely. Like it's like you never spoke. That's a flurf reset. We call that.
Misrepresenting not only Islam, but he's misrepresenting his own scripture. But what's good is at least he conceded to my argument. Muhammad freed all his slaves. But he said,
I'll take things that never happened for 1,000, Alex. Like, what?
Did y'all hear me concede to any of the stuff he said?
Yes, you conceded in his imagination, I guess. All right.
It's contradictory. It's contradictory. Yes, there is a contradiction. There's a contradiction between what the hadith I quoted and your wacky, quacky interpretation of Islam.
Wacky!
Nowhere did it say that Bilal remained a slave till his death. The reference which you...
Nadir, that gets you 10. Because the ones that are wacky, quacky are the atheists. I mean, some consistency, Nadir.
But did he? But this, I mean, I hate to keep stopping it. But he said,
it's okay. That's what we do here.
Yeah, he said that. I said that Bilal remained a slave to his death. That's not what I said. I said that your prophet didn't free Bilal before his death.
Right.
So he's misrepresenting me again. Like that he did this the whole debate.
Mm-hmm. So we are at 33 minutes. You had a 10-minute opening. I didn't see. Let's just take out 10 minutes. That is 23 minutes. 1 second. That is 55 divided by 23. We are at 2.39 likes per minute, Nadir. That is rough. That is hard.
I would appreciate you just please share your desktop like how I'm doing it and show the references which you're talking about. You are Well, you're just basically at this point lying because you're panicking. You're panicking the word and I by just making up stuff. Look, the point of this debate tonight is that we share our screens and show the exact references we are talking about rather than making things up. It's a well-known fact that Bilal was freed. This is a well-known fact. But I don't have to prove that to you. You have to show evidence to the contrary. So he has accepted the hadith I've given him tonight that, Muhammad freed all his slaves. And this is the point, that Islam is a self-terminating system. So saying, oh, well, Sahaba had slaves, that does not refute my argument that it is a self-terminating.
It does.
What did I even accept?
Oh my God. For those of you who don't know Sahaba, those are the companions, right, Isa?
Yeah, that's the companions. It's the Sahaba, then the Tabi'in. Those are the followers. I mean, the second generation after the Sahaba. Yeah.
I love how
So if
he
they
does
had
that.
it, if Muhammad freed all the slaves, why would
But
the
they had
Sahaba still have
slaves.
them?
Like, how does that make any kind of sense?
Yeah.
System. Okay, so now let's get back to the verse you're running from. The Bible does say inside this verse that the slave beating is the slave's calling in life. It says that how commendable it is that you endure the slave beating and suffer wrongfully. So a psychopath is whipping him. So I will ask you again for the fourth time. These children with amputated hands, is this their calling in life, to be tortured by their slave master?
Not getting it. Completely not getting it. Yes, I gave him the.
Do you hear me, Word?
Oh, my bad. I thought I was off.
All good.
Okay,
We'll start it
so
over.
he just lied about Philemon, because it says in Philemon 1:15 through 17, for perhaps this is why he was separated from you for a while, so that you might have him back for good, no longer as a slave, but better than a slave, as a beloved brother. He is especially beloved to me, but even more so to you, both in person and in the Lord. So if you consider me a partner, receive him as you would receive me. And we know Paul was a free man. He's telling the owner, he said, release him and bring him in as a free man. Okay? That's exactly what it's saying. Now, I didn't ever concede to anything. Nadir is just lying.
Yeah, he did lie there. Nadir could counter argue here with you that he requested Philemon to be liberated because they became friends. So it's not that he wanted free slaves in principle. He just wanted his buddy to be free, which would be a perfect counter argument to what you're saying right now. But I don't think Nadir goes there.
But
the thing is that but he knows that this is supposed to be a system according to Nadir, right? That this is a system, and he's trying to advocate for this system. You know what I'm saying? So then he'll be going against his first premise about Paul actually condoning and trying to propagate slavery, right? So it'll be like he's trying to have both sides if that's the case. But I understand what you're saying, and he could say that, but
yeah, and that would be a good counter argument. I mean, that's how you do that, Nadir.
My engagement with that view is exactly what Word is saying. It has to be systematic and systemic. This position has nothing to do with, you can't actually argue it. So the European colonizers and imperialists use this, but they're misinterpreting the text. They're misusing the text for their nefarious deeds. That's what it is. Because if this was a systematic situation, then Paul himself would have enslaved people. He did not. The thing was, this is a system of the society, and he was engaging with this system in society. So basically, these people were trying to cherry pick the text in order for them to do nefarious things. That's the way that I would see it. I think you can't really argue that Paul is arguing for systematic slavery. It just does not work with this position. If you want to critique him on other things, most Muslims will do that, and that's fine, but you can't really critique him on this. I think it's a ridiculous position. It's a cherry picking position, and he's not condoning it. He's engaging in a society that does it. So it's very different,
That's exactly why I brought in 1 Timothy 1:10, because it says, that this is not sound doctrine for enslavers. So he's talking about the whole systematic methodology or whatever of enslaving people. He's speaking out against that. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
It's hard for him to say this, and I brought him this. This is why I said that earlier, and then he's gonna say, well, you know,
And
well,
he's
he's just like
conveniently
this.
ignoring the rules that are very explicit about how the Hebrews are supposed to be slaves. They're very explicit in how to go about this. So
And
Nadir, this is just wrong.
And the Hebrews are his culture. See, this is the problem. I don't get this in Muslim culture. I have to keep bringing this up. I'm like, this is your culture, dude. Who do you think Moses and David and Solomon and Aaron are? You think they're Arabs? These people are Hebrews. They're Israelites. They're Jews, whatever word you want to use. That's who all of these people are. You cannot erase their identity. You cannot erase their culture. That is who these people are. You can't retcon it and turn them into Arabs. They did not speak Arabic. They're not Arab. And it's a dishonest, disingenuous position.
I have heard people make the claim that Adam spoke Arabic, and
No.
I laughed for 15 minutes.
Yeah, they
because
do say
is
that.
just
I didn't know
wild.
they say that.
I'm sorry, like I've been on some of the lives too, and I heard some guy saying the most dumb thing where he was like, Arabic has lasted all time. Arabic is a language from all time. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. And I'm like, excuse me? No. I'm sorry, I'm an academic. There's Proto-Arabic. Arabic is from like the Common Century. This is not an ancient language from tens of thousands of years ago. You have Syriac, you have many proto kind of Semitic languages. Arabic is a newer language on the scene. I'm sorry. It is. We can trace its development.
This takes us back to my argument against Islam, which is the Marxist linguistic argument of the human origins of the Quran, which says that Arabic has loan words. And that is, number one, a fundamentally human thing to do because of the way languages and people work and movement of people and movement of languages works. And it shows that there are words that are new words that are introduced to the language, to the Arabic language by the Quran, words that were not there before that get introduced. So here you're claiming that this book is a revelation from the Most High God, yada, yada. And yet he's so inconsistent that can introduce words to a language and new words to a language, but then also use loan words, and you claim this linguistic perfection of the language. No, that's bullshit. That is bullshit.
And Parsi or Farsi is a more ancient language from Persia, right? That script that you see, it's the same. It's that script is coming from there. Most of these people couldn't read and write. In ancient times, people weren't really educated in these ways. Like now we have like mass education and we can read and write. In ancient times, people really didn't have that. So most people didn't know how to write, Persian or Arabic script. They couldn't do that. So I'm like, it's just insane the kind of mental gymnastics we have to do in order to deal with reality and history. And I think it's very sad when I keep hearing these arguments because they're really bad. Like the argument of corruption is the worst argument I've ever heard. Like it's so bad that it needs to go in like the most bottom garbage can of all time, because like you keep saying it. I'm like, do you know how terrible that position is? If I say these texts are corrupted, I'm saying something very horrible about God. It's worse. It's better to say, yeah, we've got these rough texts. I don't understand them. Allahu Alam, God knows, right? That's a much better position than the position of saying, you know what? All of these books, they're bad. Man came and changed it. Man was able to change God's word. This holy word of God, man put his pen in and he could change God's word. I'm like, that is crazy. It's insane.
You should see Issa when he came to my, because he'd been on my panel a few times, and Issa is like,
this is the best.
Word, is it always like this? Like, are these people always saying the same? I say, yeah, just sit back and watch. About 3 hours later, he's like, you wasn't lying, man. They all come up and say the same thing. This is terrible. It's like, yep, you see, yep.
It's a robot. It's a robot.
You get a lot of Muslims going up, like you do open debates, and they just go up and talk to you.
Oh yeah, on TikTok, yeah, and YouTube.
On TikTok, okay.
And YouTube as well, yeah.
Nice.
And you know what's shocking? They say, "Pull me up." put me up. Like they're going to bring this like argument of like fantastical argument of all time. Pull me up. I have something to say. And it's literally the repeated same thing that the person said before. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
They said, we believe. And I was like, they're literally imitating each other. They're like, we believe.
The funny thing is that contradicts their idea that God is actively keeping his word. I mean, there is an explicit verse about that God will not let the words of his words be altered. So it makes it sound like the Allah is kind of a pathetic God. And a great analogy is how flat earthers say that the globe model was created to hide God. It's like, what a puny God can be hidden like that? It makes no sense. The Nikki Dash became a member on Words channel. Let's freaking go. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Said I acknowledge he had that source, but it's a contradiction in between his own sources. He's not dealing with anything I'm bringing up. He just want to stick on First Peter 2:18 like he has something. He's not dealing with anything that I've brought. He's just sitting here yapping along, trying to get off some clips and calling me the disingenuous one. He is the one that's disingenuous. He is disingenuous, and he's not bringing what I'm bringing up. He's not dealing with it because he know he can't deal with it. So he runs like with his tail tucked between his legs and just stays put. He's not moving. He's not moving because he's running and he's showing himself to be a coward. That's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You got 20 seconds left if you want to take it or you want to give your time.
I wanted to say something.
Yes.
Like just going on the same kind of path. It's kind of really shocking, the kind of things that I see. Like it literally is the same repeated stuff. And it's like, and there's not really good responses. Like the thing that I see is like one of the counter arguments is like, well, the Bible is so bad in all of these ways, even though that's your holy text, which makes no sense. But the thing is like, they're like, the Trinity makes no sense. And I'm like, do you think God makes logical sense that you could just rationalize? And we're talking about something way beyond our comprehension. And you're going to go and say, yeah, I can logically explain God, because I believe in this invisible God that no one can touch, taste, or feel with like empirical data, right? I'm going to argue that my God that it has one, that it's Tawheed and is unified in one sense, that makes so much more sense than Trinity. That's crazy. You're talking about something that's way beyond your comprehension too. So trying to attack the Trinity and say, well, the Trinity is illogical. I'm like, if you're an atheist, both positions are illogical. So you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Exactly. The attack against the Trinity is so funny. It's like, yeah, it's like a miracle. Like, I know you don't believe in them, but like that's it. Like that, this is, I don't know what other explanation you need here.
And your God and the God in Islam is a miracle too.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, and then when we push back, I think their God is a little bit, if we want to use the illogical thing, I think their God is clearly more illogical in a sense that he uses words that don't mean what he actually means. Like Allah has hands, but when we say, well, what are his hands? I don't know. It's nothing like our hands. It's nothing like a hand you ever seen. So that means you don't even understand what it. So his hand could be a foot, right? Or his, like you can't even describe or even come close to even grasping the thought of it. Like they always say, nothing is like Allah. His hands are not like our hands. So why did he use the word hands? He's trying to convey a message to you for you to understand him. But then at the end of it, you really don't understand him because the word that he used is not even similar to the word that you have in your mind. So it's like that is totally illogical.
That is the approach that I get. Typically, when you have low-tier debaters like Nadir, when they make a claim, they usually contradict something else that they said. So when he says stuff like, "Oh yeah, that Allah's hands are not really Allah's hands," that contradicts the idea of the Quran being clear, right?
Yeah.
So you can chain all of those, and you get a gigantic circular contradiction. To be fair, you can also do that with the Christians, but it's not part of this debate. So let's keep it going.
Go ahead.
All right, Nadir, you ready?
Sure. So you nowhere did the story said that the man was free. In fact, the story of Philemon that you're bragging about was used by the slave master. Now, if you can share my screen over here real quick. If you look at the article here from Christianity Today, why did so many Christians support slavery? It was because of the story you're talking about. They said, look, the Apostle Paul returned him back to his slave master as more than a slave, but as a brother. It didn't say he was free. So this story was actually used to justify slavery. But once again, he's
Oh my God, he's right there and can't understand. Nadir, take note. My argument is better. Paul wanted Philemon to be released because he became friends. He befriended a slave, which, if you ask me, it actually makes words point that once you can become friends with a slave and you wouldn't want them to be a slave anymore. It's just a proximity kind of a thing, right? But like he has the argument right there and doesn't see it. This is hilarious. Good
Yeah,
job,
but
Nadir.
that wasn't even my argument.
No, I'm talking
Yeah,
about his potential rebuttal.
right. But the thing is, he's not getting that. His argument was that he was condoning slavery. Whether the dude was free or not, I'm showing him that he wasn't actually condoning slavery as a wholesale. You know what I mean? On that, because he's saying to let this guy free. But if he knew this is a systematic construct that was set up, he knew that by him petitioning to get the slave free, that don't mean nothing. Have to be on the ultimately on the owner to free him. You know what I'm saying? So he's still not getting, like you said, he's not getting the whole thing, and that would have been a better that would have probably been a better argument if like the argument you gave, but he's still not getting exactly what I was trying to convey by bringing that passage up.
in hot pursuit, and he's running away from the book of Peter. The book states very clearly here now that the slave beating is your calling in life.
Nadir, dude, the illustration images, they're a little bit unnecessary. And by a little bit, I mean, they're completely why? What's the point?
Every time
he racist. Sorry.
When he interprets the Bible, he did this before with the passage, I don't know, in Matthew or about the mustard seed or whatever. Just the most incredible, ungenerous interpretations of the Bible. Then when he swings to the Quran, it's like incredibly generous interpretations. It's just like so obvious. He just makes, his generosity floweth, unending when he's reading the Quran, and then takes a major flip when he reads the Bible.
I agree. I actually find that to be extremely problematic. It doesn't come off as clean and clear when you're like, I'm going to read the Quran in the most kindest, most wonderful, loving way. But when it comes to the Bible, look how terrible and horrible it is, even though this is my holy book. That's why I always have to go back to that point. I'm like, that's your holy book, bro. The Gospels and the Torah are your holy books. So you can deny your own holy books if you want to and say they're corrupt, but that's on you. You're attacking your own holy text. So
I would tell you, like, if you bring up the corruption thing, Nadir, chapter and verse, because God in the Quran actually says that those are his words, and that the people of the book got the revelation that was for them. So you have no basis for the corruption claim whatsoever. It's bid'ah, Nadir, and you know it.
Let's read the text very carefully here. Servants, be submissive to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the harsh. That's chattel slavery right there, which is an endorsement. So does the Bible endorse slavery? Yes. It goes on. For this is commendable if because of your conscience towards God, one endures grief, suffering wrongfully. But what credit is it to you that when you are beaten for your faults, you take it patiently? So what the false apostle Paul is doing over here, he's marketing Christianity.
I'm sorry, what? Wait, why? What do you mean, false apostle? No, you can't say that. What? Under what authority? No, Nadir, no.
I think even in classical Islamic texts before Ibn Hazm, Paul is not actually viewed in a hostile way. It comes later.
No, he's not at all.
No. I mean, and it's part of the scripture. Like Paul was canonized into the scriptures. What authority does he have to take it out? That's like an atheist argument, Nadir.
No, all of the Muslims do that. All of the Muslims don't like Paul.
Oh,
I want
that's
an argument that says like, why do Muslims dislike Paul? And they come right up and they just tell me he changed original Christianity from the early Christianity before him, right? And I'm like, well, what do you get the teachings of the original Christianity from? From Jesus in the New Testament on the God, but those are corrupt. So to you, so it's like a self-defeating argument. So you're going to use these corrupted texts to try to show Paul changed it, but you think they were already changed before Paul. Like it don't make sense.
In my view, like I do have a gripe with Paul because I mean, Jesus does say that you're meant to keep the law forever, and Paul changes that, and I haven't been able to get anyone to successfully answer to me why that's available. Like why is that a thing?
Well,
right?
he did follow the
But-
law. He was a very devout Jew that even after
I
he embraced
understand
Christ,
that.
he actually did follow the laws.
But then goes out to does away with the law, and it is, if you take I wouldn't say the corruption thing, right? But it is a valid argument if you don't take that position. But for you, Nadir, it does nothing, because you're, like we've been saying, you're supposed to hold to the scriptures. Yeah,
So-
the
so
Quran
I think
affirms the authority of the scriptures, of all of it.
Right, and I think because you're talking about Matthew 5:17,
Yeah.
when Jesus says this, but I think a lot of people just read it, but not into the context of what he's really saying, because he says that he's going to fulfill it, right? And he says not one iota will disappear from the law until it is fulfilled. So it's going to be fulfilled in Jesus.
Yeah, the problem I
So
have
he's
with
saying that
and
it's going to be for it's going. He's saying because it's a until. So he said he's not saying it's never going to go away. He says until it is all fulfilled, and he came
Yeah,
to fulfill it. That's
the problem is that you're doing the linguistic thing. Fulfilled doesn't mean do away. When you fulfill the law of wearing your seatbelt, does that mean that you can take it off? No,
that's in a different. That's not analogous. Fulfilled is more
it's
like
perfectly analogous.
it's not.
But I don't want to get into that. It's okay.
Well,
we're
one
going to
day I'll
debate.
probably talk to you about that.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I can.
So I had a comment on this, what I think about this. So what I think Paul's intent is, he's not saying, okay, no, I'm banning circumcision, I'm banning all of the Hebrew laws. He's more of taking the position, he's like, these people are coming in, they're not from our community. We're not going to impose on these people who are not from the Hebrew community to do the things that we're doing. I believe there's actually a case with Titus, whose mother was actually an Israelite, and he did get circumcised. I believe that Titus gets circumcised. So, like, it's not like he completely abolishes Hebrew law. It's more like he's like, these people who aren't from our community, we're not going to impose these hardships like kosher laws. It's very hard. If you go to like an Orthodox Jewish space, there's a lot of rules, like the laws for Sabbath, the dietary laws, the laws of mixed fabrics. These are very difficult things to impose on people who know nothing about it. And circumcision when you're an adult is like, that's like a hellish experience to put someone through. So that's at least my understanding. I don't know if Dr. J and Ward disagree with me, but I think that's more where his intent is. It's not like, I'm just here to ban Hebrew law. It's more like, yeah, the people who don't come from this community, we're not going to impose this and force this on them. We're going to welcome these people in, and we're not going to see them as lesser than us.
Yeah, I mean, because Paul went to a Jewish council in front of James about this direct law or statute or commandment, and he was found not to be guilty because he wasn't telling them not to follow the laws, especially like the Jews. He was preaching to the Gentiles because it says that if you break one of these laws, it's like you break on all of them. And the Jews couldn't keep these laws. So he's saying, well, why would we impose something on them that we ourselves couldn't keep? So even if you get circumcised, but you did something else, it's like you were not circumcised. So it's like if you break one, you have broken all of these laws. So they're not imposing that on them when them themselves can't keep it. And he also says that the law was our guardian until Christ came. Just like when Jesus says in Matthew 5:17, the law will not pass away until it is fulfilled. And he was saying that he came to fulfill it. So Paul is on par with what Jesus taught in that aspect of it. Because he says the law is the guardian until Christ came.
And he didn't stop following the laws. I think that's an important thing too. People are like, well, Paul is this horrible, heretic that didn't actually do it. Even when he was a believed follower of Christ, he still did his practices. He went to the synagogue too. So I think that's
it's just that
thing.
he didn't believe that we are justified by the law, right? That's the way we get into heaven, because the law is supposed to show you that you're sinful, right? That was the whole purpose of the law. Because even Abraham, he was justified, but he wasn't no law of Moses there to justify him. So it was just his faith that got him, justified in the eyes of God, even before the law even came. So the law never really justified anyone. It was just to show you that you're sinful and you're doing sinful things. So it was like your guardian. It was a guardian over you to show you this. This was what the Bible says.
I think that's a fair argument. I think that's just the problem, that a lot of Muslims don't understand Christian theology. I'm planning to actually do like a series educating Muslims on Judaism and Christianity, because I just when I go into these spaces. Did you see the debate with me and AP on Israel versus Hamas?
Oh my God!
Oh no, I haven't seen that
You
debate.
should look on that, because
The last debate I seen you did was with what's the name in
with
against
AP,
Logic.
I was with MENJ against God Logic and AP.
Oh.
Yeah, I seen
But-
that debate. I didn't see the Israel.
Israel versus Hamas, and when I started talking about the Bible, Junior was like amazed, because he had never really heard the stories of the Bible. I was talking about what's his name, Jacob and Esau, and I was explaining the dynamic, and he's like, really, like birthright? Like, this is not something Muslims know. They don't know about the birthright. They don't know about the birthright from how Jacob gets the birthright, how Isaac gets the birthright. And it's actually a very interesting motif, because it's the same consistent motif where the younger brother is able to get the birthright over their older brother. It's a fascinating motif that you see in Genesis or Bereshit. And I think this is a problem, because I think Muslims have a massive ignorance of these texts. The only thing they know is like these cliff notes, but they don't understand the theology. That's the issue. Like what you just explained is theology. I think Muslims don't understand Christian theology. What they do in a lot of these debates is that they impose their Muslim theology onto the Christian text. So they don't actually understand the Christian theology, but they're like, well, I'm going to use my theology and my ethics and my morality to judge the text. And I'm like, that's not an internal critique, that's an external critique. You're critiquing these texts based on yourself.
It's parroting the Dawa guys on YouTube, and they make like really bad arguments, and then the average people just repeat them and make them even worse because they don't get anything of it.
It's really, really bad, and it's very bad apologetics, and it really shows that they do. Like when I hear like Word or Life or God Logic or Dr. Wood or AP, when I hear them talk about Islam, I'm like, you're actually trying to understand, at least I would say, the more kind of Salafi interpretation of like conservative interpretation, which a lot of people do believe in, but like it's an internal Islamic argument. These positions can be used within perspectives of Islam. The arguments I hear Muslims make against Christians, it's nowhere in Christianity. There's no position in Christianity where these arguments work. Like even in the diversity of Christianity and Judaism, it doesn't work because they don't understand the theology of the Christian and the Jew. And I think that that's the problem that I see.
Yeah,
Right.
and I would just comment.
Sorry, go ahead.
Comment, Max. Word is kind of explaining how the
But does the
law,
Bible-
the word fulfilled or whatnot, just to like illustrate how complicated this can get. There was a class when I went to seminary called Law and Grace, And it basically was like just laying out all the different views, and there's multiple of how this interaction works. So like the denominations of Christianity don't really agree with how what the word fulfilled means and what the relationship in the Old Testament should be. It is like an absolute total debate. You end up with things, dispensationalism, covenant theology, new covenant theology, progressive dispensation, mid-acts theory. I mean, there's just like so many different ways of sort of understanding this word fulfilled. So Word is probably like explaining, how he understands it or whatever. But just so everybody knows, there's like lots of options within Christianity of how the word fulfilled is interpreted and understood, and therefore the relationship of the Old Testament and the New Testament.
I get that 100%. Now,
But none of these Muslims
my
represent
view-
any of those views. That's the
Correct.
problem.
That's
They don't.
correct.
None of them represent any of the views of that.
They're not
have been
trying.
presented.
They want to
But-
know enough to try to argue. That's it.
I do criticize Muslims when they go down the linguistic route to make arguments. And in their case, it's even more obscure because they appeal to the Arabic and always do like some sneaky stuff with the translation. But I don't think there is that much range in the word fulfill, and it certainly does not mean abolish. It's actually kind of quite opposite.
Words can have like 100 million different meanings, right? And so, in order for you to to start this argument, you would look up the word fulfilled in BDAG. That's like the first thing you would do, and see all the possible definitions. And I guarantee you, PhD dissertations, like 1 million of them, have been written on this word. So I'm not saying you're wrong per se, but like our level of attempting to interpret this is pretty superficial, right? Like,
Yeah, and let me be clear. I didn't never say the law was abolished, because we see, if you keep reading in Matthew 7, Jesus gives laws. Like he's saying, Moses permitted you for divorce, but I say, don't divorce your wife unless by adultery. I say don't unalive, don't kill your brother, but I say if you look at a brother with hatred in your heart, it's like you killed him already. So I'm not saying that all of the laws was done away with. You know what I'm saying? So that's not what if I came off that way, that's not what I believe, because Jesus did give us laws and statutes and commandments, and these that he gave us actually elevate from more of a carnal reaction and interactions with us to more of to deal with your spirit, a spiritual side of you, more internal things than just simply blatantly on the surface, don't unalive your brother. But if you look at him with hatred, you just like you unalived them. You know what I'm saying? So that's the letter of the law that was in the Old Testament.
And people don't really agree what the word law means. You know what I mean? What law? When you say the law, do we mean the principle of having laws? Do we mean all the Old Testament laws? Do we mean just one of the 3 parts of the law? Like, people don't agree on that. Does that make sense? When you say he fulfilled the law, what do we mean? You'd have to define the word law. And so, anyway,
that's a rabbit. I mean,
it's not helpful saying it's complicated, probably.
Yeah, it is.
But unfortunately, that's kind of the answer.
All right, let's keep it going. Let me move Isa there.
Endorse slavery? Yes. It goes on. For this is commendable if because of your conscience towards God one endures grief, suffering wrongfully. But what credited it to you? That when you are beaten for your faults, you take it patiently. So what the false apostle Paul is doing over here, he's marketing Christianity to the slave master. He's basically showing the harmony between slavery and his teaching, because his goal is that you will teach.
Even if you want to make the silly argument that he's marketing Christianity, he's marketing Christianity to the slave, like with a promise of a better life in the afterlife. Nadir, how do you get everything backward, Nadir? I love it. It's fascinating.
Slavery, or you teach Christianity to the slave because it will allow them to take the tortures and beating without question. And he stated that Christianity will look attractive to the slave master. And I'll show you that verse in just a second here. But now here's a verse which you are running away from. It states here, for to this you are called. What is you're being called to? The slave beating. He's grooming the slave to meet
All
the
right.
needs of the evil slave master. I
We're
repeat,
gonna turn it over. We got to stop.
Now, if you ever like, I have electronic music vinyl records that repeat themselves less than Nadir. We have One Way Apologetics and the word $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. Salam al-Masih. May I ask why you're doing a review without me? Do you want to send him the link?
Oh, if he want to come up, he more than welcome. This is the review guy in our our group, but I was invited to this one. And I just streamed it to my channel.
Yes, because you kind of stepped a little bit on my territory and did an after show, and I am the king of the after show.
See, I didn't know. I didn't know you did.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's okay. I'm sorry. Erase that. No, but we had something else planned. A friend debated on another channel, so we didn't do the after show for this one. But we regularly do after shows for MDD debates. But if he's your friend and you want to email him the link, feel free.
I think he was kidding around.
Oh, if he's kidding, it's fine. If he wants to come on and everyone is welcome here.
Yeah, message me if you want to come on, Chris. Message me if you want to come on. I'll send it.
Yeah, come hang out. We have mate.
Not an extra 25 seconds each time, Nadir. So we're trying to do what you asked. 2 minutes, 2 minutes. So we're going to turn it back over to Word. You got 2 minutes starting now.
All right, since he's keeping on with this same thing, he won't let it go. So I would directly address this as I have always been, because he's running from his own sources. He's totally running from his own sources, and he's not dealing with it. In the context of the verse, he keep reading it. It is the Judaizers are being harshful to the Christians. They're being very harsh to the Christians, right? And instead of taking up arms, right, and trying to fight them back, they saying that because Jesus Christ said you will be persecuted for my name. You will be persecuted for my name. He is the final judge and arbiter of truth and justice. So Jesus will handle that in behalf of the slaves or the servants, because it's really a servant of the servants on the day of judgment. This is what this verse is talking about. So we're not commanded to take up arms and fight against us. Our persecution is better for our judgment in the hereafter, right? Because we are being persecuted at the hands of some evil, adulterous generations. This is what it is about. Nadir just keeps going on, and he's making up and doing his own private interpretation. But I want to get back to what Nadir said. He said that Muhammad helped by buying that one slave out of a harsh condition. Well, fine, he helped one out, but in the very same condition that he helped bring one out, he put two back in. So he did nothing. He did nothing but propagate and put more people under those harsh conditions than what was already in them. Great job, Muhammad. Great job. And he's the best moral example for all of mankind. Sure, that was a smart move, Muhammad.
All right. There's 2 minutes. All right, Nadir, we're going to turn it back. Go ahead and start.
Regarding the hadith you're referring to about buying one slave for two blacks, no, he's not putting anybody back into slavery. Again, he's just working within the system to save the life of that one person. But
what's the system? The system of slavery. What is the system?
I love that he says no, and then says the thing like Nadir. Oh, this is why I love him so much, and why I would absolutely love to debate Nadir, but he's been dodging me like crazy. Nadir, if you take out one person out of slavery and you put two people into slavery, that means that you doubled the slavery. It's simple math, really.
Yeah, and I'm such a wimp, I can't do anything about it. I only can do it within the system. It's just that just doesn't feel real
right?
great, right? Like,
I mean,
did he come to make changes, or he's just stuck? Whatever they currently do now, that's what he's got to do. Nothing he can do about it.
The Prophet of Islam he had ultimate authority by that time. He could have just said, yeah, you no longer slave, and not have to put back two people into the system. That is wild. Please don't be slinging that Spanish at me.
Argument stands unrefuted in tonight's debate. As I have clearly argued an airtight case, it doesn't matter if you're selling a slave here and there, because the whole system is self-terminating. You cannot beat a slave. If he gets tired and he says so, you got to kind of accept it, which totally causes system collapse. Give them the best education. When you give the slaves the best education, okay, what do you think they're going to ask for? They're going to ask for their freedom. Slavery doesn't work without forced labor, but Islam forbids that. It says you cannot punish a slave. So the issue tonight, which you need to attack, is my argument that is the Islamic version of slavery is a self-annihilating system. And I also showed inside many references, in fact, let me go back and remember here real quick what I showed you here. It stated very clear that, look, if you see any good in your slave, free him. So the question, the debate, the proposition we are talking tonight is that, does Islam endorse or Christianity endorse slavery? No. Islam is basically causing the system internal collapse by placing these viruses all throughout the system.
I mean, even if we go with your argument, Nadir, by the 19th century, Muslims were still doing slavery, so it was a really trash virus.
Yeah, exactly. Like, boy, that thing took a long time to kick in. Holy
1,000
smokes.
years. I mean, that's bad. That's a bad virus.
And
No
even
forced
the minute
labor,
he said it's not
labor.
it's not okay. It's not a bad thing really to sell slaves. So what if he's selling slaves?
Yeah, a slave here or there, it happens.
He says,
What's a slave or two among friends anyway, right? Come on.
Nobody can become a slave unless you're a POW, which is in accordance with Geneva Convention. Give the slaves a
That is not in accordance with the Geneva Convention. You can't enslave prisoners of war, Nadir. That's a lie.
best education that you can. So that's the argument you need to deal with. Now he's tried to give an explanation of why the punishment is of the slave torture is allowed. He said, well, you just persecution is better. That's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible
That's your
never
2
attacks the
minutes.
slave master. The slave master is God in the Bible.
All right, we're turning.
No, he's not. No. Oh my! I wouldn't even say that, Nadir. What the hell? Mohammed, what are you talking about? Oh my!
Back to Word now. Go ahead, Word. 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay, I don't know what land is he living in, but I am systematically breaking down every one of your arguments. Systematically, you're staying in the loop, and you're not coming out of your little shell. You're on a hamster wheel, and you just keep going. So he brought up a hadith that says,
I agree. I think that you had him on the ropes, and it's evident by the fact that Nadir keeps just ignoring everything you say, not engaging at all with the rebuttal, and just going back, like Fleur resetting back to the same thing and repeating the same thing over and over and over. I think that is a clear indication that he's literally losing the debate, bro. Sorry, that's something a flat earther says.
if your slave is overburdened, you must go and help him. Okay, well, that's subjective. That's not objective. Subjectively, who's going to say, well, this slave is overburdened? That's the master's job to say, well, you get out there and help him. I'm not going to get out there and help him. I don't believe you're overburdened. You could be faking it. That is subjective, and he's leaving it in the hands. If you leave these viruses in the hands of fallible men, then you will always get fallible results. Point blank, period. It is subjective and it's fluid, and there's no standard to say when is the slave actually overburdened. Who's to decide? If it's at the discretion of the slave owner, well, I don't believe you're overburdened. Get back to work. This is not a better system. It is not a virus, and it's not self-eating. He's just doing mental gymnastics and shows that this is actually propagating and breeding slavery from the inside out. This is all that it is doing, and he don't have no answers for it. That's why he's only standing on this one thing. He keeps doing it, and this is just what it is. And he says that you get blessings for beating your slaves in the Bible. That's nowhere it says that. Show me where the owner gets blessings for beating a slave. He can't provide it. He lied once again. That's all he's doing is up here. He's lying and he's propagating lies. That's all he's doing. And I will address many other things in the coming cross exam. And I'm hoping we can stop the 2 minutes because I want to press you on some things.
All right, that's 2 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and turn it to Nadir. Ready? And
Thank
go
you
ahead.
for handing me the debate tonight. He's given me the
How did I hand him the debate?
Nadir, oh, it's adorable. For those people that are wondering why they don't see why they don't see Mohammed's message, he's on my chat. That's why I mean, I can show it because StreamYard connects both chats, so I see all of the chats. But he's chatting on my channel, not on Word's channel. Yeah, Nadir, you can just call out victory when you clearly got rebutted here, and you're not doing anything about it. You need to engage with the rebuttal. You can just repeat your point over and over. That's not how you debate.
Rope to hang him with tonight. Listen to what he says. He says, but who is to decide that this is an overburden or anything like that? Can you please share my screen? Precisely the point. But he says, it's the slave master who decides if it's an overburden. Where's your evidence? You see, that is your...
Oh, Nadir, no large-scale slave operations. Islam totally abolished it. Conservative estimates say that the Barbary pirates enslaved 1 million people. What is that not large scale enough for between the 1600 and the 1900s? That it seems pretty large scale to me.
And I don't think he understood my argument about being subjective. If it's subjective, like if I'm the slave master and I wanted this guy to get to work, and then he's saying that, oh no, I'm tired, I'm overburdened. I don't think so. You get to work. Like there wasn't a criteria to say, well, if your slave cuts his hand or fall out or faints or something, that means he overburdened. You know what I'm saying? Like there wasn't no criteria. It's on my discretion in my judgment. So I don't believe you're overburdened. I'm not going to help you. So this fallible men making, decisions on that scale, that's not a virus at all. That's just subjective.
I suspect that this Mohammed might be a fake Muslim because he said Sharia law, and you can just say Sharia. Sharia means law, Mohammed. Are you a fake Muslim? I think you're a fake Muslim, like just rage baiting.
This is called false assumption of the ignorant, credulous person. Fake. F-A-I-C. Christianity is a fake religion. All they do is just make false assumptions.
Did he just say fake? F-A-I-C?
Yeah, false assumption, incredulous, something. He said it was an acronym.
Oh, like an acronym. Oh, no.
But he is right. Islam maliciously caused a subjective conundrum, confusion regarding overburden. But the only way to really know for sure, you gotta take the slave's word.
All right, Dr. J needs to go,
Hey.
so
Want to say goodbye. Good to see you guys. Hopefully we'll see you
always
again
good to have
soon.
you.
But I gotta run. Good to meet you, Word.
Nice to meet you, Dr. J.
everyone.
You take it easy, brother. God
take
bless you.
care. All right, let me, once Dr. J moves, I'll move Isa to there. There we go.
For it. Thank you for handing me the debate. That is the point. This is a virus in the system. It's causing a conundrum. It's causing the problem you are stating. And then it said, you better go out and help him if he's so-called this overburdened stuff. That's an
Nadir, are you missing a tooth now?
impossible request. No one has the time. Like if you were to ask me to have a slave and you got to help him when he gets allegedly overburdened, I'd say, no, I can't do it. I don't have the time for that. The whole purpose of slavery is so that they can do the job that you don't have time to do. So,
he's admitting to what I just said.
Wait, what?
He's admitting to it.
Wait. What does he mean? No one has. They're doing this job that no. What? Oh, I'm baffled. I don't understand what he meant there at all. I generally speak very good Nadirish, but no idea.
thank you. This is an internal virus which causes system collapse. It is not possible to go to the large-scale slavery operations are gone in Islam. How can you help 100 or 250 slaves when they, quote, are overburdened? You can never go over this conundrum. Thank you. And so this is an internal virus caused to destroy the institution of slavery. But the text of the Bible does say that the slave beating is your calling in life. So I will ask you for the last time tonight, Is the slave beating those children suffered with their amputated
right.
hand? Is this
2
their
minutes.
calling in life? Yes or no?
Back to
I've
Will.
already
Like, oh my God. Like, what is French for what is Arabic for broken record, Isa? Holy cow. Again and again, it's like we're in a merry-go-round and he keeps going back to the same thing over and over.
I'm sorry. I
Go for it.
already answered this time and time again. But thank you, Nadir, for giving me the debate, sir. You just said that one person can own up to 150 to 200 slaves. You are propagating slavery. You don't even know it. He just agreed that one person can have up to 150, 200 slaves. Okay, so what about the slave masters and also bringing in 424 that they can have any no set amount of
I call it out to that one. That's hilarious.
slaves, as long as they right hand possess, they can take them and have sex with them. This is what is called sex slavery, my friend.
Great
and he's
point.
saying that there's no sex slavery. There's no sex slavery, but it's in your Quran, sort of 424. 424, it actually commands and says that all women are permissible except of the ones that are married, except if you own them for a slave. If they're your right hand possessed, you can do what you want with them. Okay, so yes, it does propagate sex slavery, and yes, by Nadir's own admission, that one person can have 150 to 200 slaves at one time. This is by your own admission, Nadir. Thank you for giving me the debate that Islam do in fact condone slavery.
All right, you have 30 seconds left if you want to go.
Okay, I think you might have misheard me. So
You're
I
muted.
think. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Oh, shit.
No, Jane, I mean, Mike,
Sorry, yeah, I had it unmuted on one, but yeah, you have 30 seconds left if you wanted to take that last 30. Or if you
Oh, I
wanna
got
turn
30
it
seconds left. I didn't know. Okay, I'm gonna direct you to Sahih Muslim 1438, right? And they was on an expedition, and it says that the Bil Mustalik, you know about that Bil Mustalik, and it says it took some captive excellent Arab women, and we desired them, for we were suffering from the absence of our wives. We also desired ransom for them, so they're not only gonna have intercourse with them, but they're gonna sell them later. So we decided to have sexual intercourse with them by absorbing uzul, meaning to withdraw the male organ. This is sex slavery, my friend.
Okay. How much more time do we have of this cross-examination period?
We're about 30 minutes or so in, so you got another 20
Oh, wonderful.
minutes. Yeah, so we'll
Okay.
start your
No, there's-
time
okay. Thank you.
right now.
Good on you, word for like trying to move the conversation along. Because if you didn't do that, he would have just kept on the same thing over and over.
He's
Let's
gonna
see
keep on
even-
doing it.
I know, but at least you are trying to move the conversation to new territories, and that I think that's good.
No, there is no sex slavery in Islam. This, once again, is a fake argument. False assumption of the ignorant, credulous.
Everything I don't like is fake and gay. Nadir, you're a flat earther. You're a flat earther debating. There's no way about it. Like, no, that's a fake argument. Like, what? Address the argument.
person. FAIC. Christianity is a fake religion, but Islam is a fact-based religion. He's just
What did he say?
Oh boy, let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What do you mean a fake religion? It can't be a fake religion when your book affirms the authority of the Torah and the gospel. There's no way around that. The Quran, and I don't remember the verse, but everyone knows, the Quran affirms the authority on the Torah and the gospel. And that's it. And also the Sabur, which is like the Psalms, I think. Right, Isa? I'm correct on that one, right?
Yeah, you're very correct. And I think in this particular argument, the reason I remember why I didn't, because I was thinking about running, the Islamic dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
I think it wouldn't have helped me.
No.
Because I'm trying to prove that his religion is, condoning slavery. But if I say, well, your religion is backing up my religion in my text, then essentially I'm pointing him back at my text and saying, well, they're condoning slavery because my religion did first. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of would have backfired and went in a circle on me. I remember thinking about that while I was actually preparing, I was like, nah, I shouldn't do that.
It's it's a little bit outside the scope of the debate, I think, in this one. So maybe
Yeah, definitely.
I
that
think
too.
I think it was best that you didn't bring it up. I would love to see Nadir debate the Islamic dilemma. That would just be awesome.
Making false assumptions upon the text, stating that these women were raped or they were had sex against their will. That is not the case. If so, show it to me. Now, like I said, I've had an entire debate on that.
Oh boy. Do I have to teach Nadir about consent? I think I have to teach Nadir about consent. Nadir, if you have a slave woman and you have sex with her, even though you might coerce her into accepting, it's still a coercion. So you don't really have full consent there. So it would qualify as rape, Nadir. And this comes from a filthy atheist, just FYI.
But let me move in for the kill and finish them up. I didn't say that a person can have up to 140 to 200 slaves. I said the exact opposite. I hate to ruin your victory lap, but I said the opposite. You cannot have it in Islam because the text says if they get overburdened, you got to go out and help them. How the heck can you help 140, 200 slaves? You can't. So the large-scale plantations and all of that, that's gone.
So he just admitted again. That's what I'm saying. He said, no, I didn't say that. But then he said it again. In the middle of that debate, at this point, I was like, okay, I know. I don't. I really was like baffled at that point. I was like, this guy is delusional now.
I get it. I 100% get it. It's at some point it's like, yeah, okay, nothing I say is going to change it. But I think you actually got through your case in the debate, and now it's just having fun with Nadir. At this point, I would just start laughing.
You got it. You're gonna see like my whole thing, because I was trying to be, engaged with his points and serious, and then it's like he just became a troll, and then I started just trying to treat him. I started just treating him like a troll, basically.
Tonight that we are seeing, he is not able to refute that the Islamic system is a self-terminating system. If you look at what Islam is teaching about slaves, you cannot beat a slave. That means you're not going to be able to force him to work. You can't punish him. That means that it's really not worth having a slave. And then the Quran says, free your slaves if you see any good in them. This is self-terminating. Now, I want to get to another bite. And as you can see, he doesn't want to answer the question about the slave beating being his calling in life. That's fine. But the Bible also says that when you see these tortured children, this will make Christianity look attractive. Now, I do want to share that verse with you because I wanted to ask him about this.
Oh my God, not again.
Verse in the book of Titus. It states over here in Titus chapter 2, verse.
Oh, that's 3 images. That gets you 15.
15.
Yeah, we're doing 5 per image because it's unnecessary, Nadir. We all know this. This is just an appeal to emotion. You're just trying to make I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to do, but this is absolute. It's shock tactics, and it's pretty disgusting, Nadir, actually, because this is a part of human history that, unless you're psychopathic, everyone should say like, yeah, this is very bad, and we hope that this doesn't never happen again. I mean, that's the attitude that we should have, at least in my opinion, towards slavery. That we sincerely hope from the bottom of my heart, with my subjective morality and everything you say, that no man, woman, or child is ever enslaved again in what's left of human history, Nadir.
9. It says, teach your slaves to be subject to their masters, not talking back. They will make the teachings about God, our Savior, attractive. Are you sharing my screen so I can show this, please? So explain to me, how is it that these tortured children are going to look attractive to me and it's going to make me want to be a Christian? I'm sorry. It says that it'll make Christianity look attractive. Is this just another big lie that the Bible's telling us?
All right. Let me know when I can go.
Yep, go ahead. Starting now.
Okay, you see what he did. He didn't address it. He just said, "No, you stinky head, boo boo, sticky head, and boo boo." That's all he said.
Yes. Love that. I support that. I mean, you can treat Nadir seriously for a while, but after a little bit, you just have to do that. That's
Yeah,
the way
you
to
see,
go.
that's when I was like, oh yeah, he's a troll. So I'm gonna just,
I 100% support that.
He's crying. He's not addressing it. He's not bringing no evidence. He's bringing all of the stuff that he wrote out himself. He's not even showing sources. He wrote all of this stuff out himself. So
Sorry, hold on. Here. One way apologetics for $5 Canadian. I ain't gonna lie. The Word and I studied for this debate last week. He barely did live streams because he was studying every night. Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It looks like he was prepared. Yes.
I don't buy it. You're not showing.
Thank you for the super chat for him. Love that.
thank you.
Yes. Send more super chats to the Word and I.
Sources, you're just bringing up things in Islam that you wrote yourself. So you're giving us your quacky, wacky interpretations, and you're bringing up stuff that is not even. You're not bringing up showing any sources. You're just saying no.
I support it. It's wacky quacky for future reference.
Oh, wacky quacky.
It's
Okay.
wacky
okay.
quacky. Yes, the wacky quacky atheist, and he also says the wacky quackologist or some dumb shit like that. It's hilarious.
What?
And you run into the Bible. You're just saying that's not true because now you're because of Titus 2:19. That's all you're doing. That's all he's doing. He's acting like a petulant child, and he's not dealing with the arguments. He's not dealing with the arguments. So even if you even look back in the slaves of the Old Testament, you cannot beat your slave because you will have to be punished. And if you even beat him to death, then you're going to be put to death yourself. He won't bring that up. He won't answer for that because it was already established.
You hadn't mentioned that before. I'm wondering why. Because that would have been a great preemptive strike against some of the nonsense that Nadir was saying. Do you remember?
I didn't. I think I brought it up in my beginning. My maybe. Yeah, I think I brought it up in my opener. I think
I don't remember, but maybe you mentioned it, but I think it needed a little more follow
juice.
through. Yeah, a little more follow through.
Because I didn't think he was going to stick on this point after I gave him from the context of the New Testament.
Yeah.
I was giving him the context of the verses he gave, like according to Paul, and how Paul really looked at these things, and Paul wasn't actually condoning slavery in the manner of chattel slavery. So I thought we was going to be able to move on to something deeper, and get more deeper into the text, but he kept on this same thing, and I didn't answered it almost in 4 different ways, so then I just brought up, Paul was a Pharisee. He knew he knew the Old Testament. So this is what the Old Testament says. So I just went back and linked it to the Old Testament because he wasn't moving on from this point.
Yeah, no, he was. He tends to get completely stuck on one point, and yeah, he's not engaging with what you're saying whatsoever, and yeah, I completely understand that. But in my opinion, it could have. Well, I don't think it would have changed anything with respect to Nadir, but it would have, to my taste, driven your point home a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Just so I was just wondering, but it's a great thing to point out, and I mean, even we mentioned it. We've mentioned it before.
That you cannot do this. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and if you knock out your slave tooth, you must let him go. If you black his eye, you must let him go. This is something that you do not do as if you have a actual inventory or investment in someone that is working for you. You can't do this. Slaves are legislated, relegated, and have the same exact rights under statutes and commandments because they will go before a judge and they will have their say in court. That is nothing like chattel slavery. Nothing like that in Islam he haven't presented. All he is saying is, nuh-uh, word, you're wrong, and crying and throwing a fit.
All right, we'll go ahead and switch it back to Nadir and start now.
Yeah, now I believe I'm showing my evidences for everything which I'm presenting. I made sure to bring references, but the Bible, what it's doing, it's appeasing the slave master. It's trying to show what Paul is doing. He's trying to show the evil, wicked.
And again, the merry-go-round.
Going back to the same thing.
Yeah.
How long this has been going? Like it's been like
Oh.
30 minutes that he. Well, I'm talking about in live debate going back and forth.
Yeah.
We have been. He said it about 30 minutes.
We're at 55 minutes of the debate. Yes.
Yeah, so it's been almost like 25, 30 minutes of him just going on the same merry-go-round.
Yeah. That's wild that someone would just do that.
Slave master. He's saying, look, I don't care if you're good or bad. This Christianity is beneficial to you. And in fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to convince these slaves to patiently accept their slave torture, slave beating. And he's telling big lies. He's saying that this torture is your calling in life. That is what the Bible says. The Bible does promote a chattel slavery because the text explicitly says to be submissive and to obey the.
Look, if you're again, you're showing the double standard, Nadir, because like even I wouldn't say my criticism of Christianity is that the Bible doesn't say, "Hey, slavery is bad," but I don't think it's promoting slavery. I think it's just that because the Bible was written by people and without any involvement of a deity, it was just a codification of the things that were happening at the moment, which I believe is the same thing for Islam. But I don't think you can justify the claim that, oh, the Bible promotes slavery. Even I wouldn't make that argument. No, it's just an insane thing to say.
Yeah. it's
Evil
just
slave master.
disingenuous
But let's get back.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, it's just disingenuous on the surface. It's like he
Yeah.
didn't read like all of the everything in context, so it's like he's just been disingenuous with the text.
ALCCCC says better moderator would have helped.
I think
I
Mike
don't
did
know.
okay. I don't think the moderator can stop him from going in a circle.
Yeah,
like that.
what are you going to do? It's just like go, hey Nadir, you're a broken record. You're just repeating yourself over and over. And I don't think James
Credit to-
doesn't intervene like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Credit
he-
to Mike on when the questions was asked on the Q&A part. He did make Nadir answer the question because, of course, they paid their money for the,
Right.
so he did try to hold him into answering the question that was asked. So he did try to do that a few times.
Max better watch out. We're gonna hear him out. Max gonna be no freaking way. There's absolutely zero chance because you know why? It's because I've read this book. I know what this book says, so I know it's false. And we'll arrange with Word for a chat on some of the contentions that we've had today. I'm trying not to make this into a debate between me and him, but we'll have that at some other time. No problem. You seem like a nice guy to talk to. I think you're wrong.
Yeah,
but
we'll have a
I
discussion.
don't think that you're like an evil person.
No, me, I don't think you are either.
Back to this verse in Titus over here. Can you share my screen real quick, please? It says inside chapter 2, verse 9 through 10. You
Back
remember
to
those
Titus.
crippled children? I'm sorry, those
We've read this already. I'm going to just repeat it because he's only highlighting a portion, which I mean, it shows you what he has 2 verses and he has just the last part highlighted. Little bit. Teach slaves to be subject to their masters in everything, to try to please them, not to talk back to them, and not to steal from them, but to show that they can be fully trusted so that in every way they will make the teaching about God our Savior attractive. He has the complete incorrect interpretation of this. The way that I see it as just this verse in isolation, right? Is these are Christian slaves enslaved by other people, and it tells the slaves to be the best that they can be so that they can, even while under cruelty from their masters, they can show that they're better than them. It's quite a powerful message to say, and it goes in line with a lot of the other Christian teachings. Do you think I'm being fair with my just like
No,
off the cuff
yeah.
interpretation?
No, you're right on the money actually about that. It's just Nadir. He's saying the exact opposite. He's interpreting the exact opposite of what the verse is intended, and is like I said, it's just being disingenuous.
And if you want to be a little bit more, let's say, if I put on my more simpleton brain, this is telling to the slave, like, okay, you're on a shitty situation. Do not make it worse for yourself by giving your slave master excuses to beat you up, right? Be the best that you can be, so that at the very least, I mean, that is a more fair interpretation than what Nadir is saying.
Yeah.
That is just wild. Someone asked, who is Max? It's me. I'm from Uruguay. We do on this channel called Sherba Mate Talks. We do after shows for MDD debates. We do some debates of our own. We do video reviews. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm friends with Isa, the one at the bottom, and Isa's friends with Word. So because we couldn't do the after show for this debate, we're doing a review, which we do sometimes.
Amputee children, look what the Bible says.
Would I be cool about moderating a Spanish debate? Yeah, of course. No problem. I'll type in my email here and I'll show it on the screen so you can get it. You can email me or Discord, no problem. But yeah, I like moderating, and I think I can be fair.
So it says that to patiently accept the slave beating from the master. Now remember, Islam teaches that if you beat a slave, you burn in hell for the rest of eternity. You burn in hell. I don't know for eternity or not, but you'll burn in hell. Okay, but look what what Titus says over here. That he says, teach slaves to be subject to their masters in everything. Okay, not talk back. Shut your mouth, boy. That's New Testament Christianity. And it states over here, so that in every way, that includes the picture I showed you with the amputees, they will make the teachings about God, our Savior, attractive. Now, to the wicked, evil slave master, yes, it will look very attractive. But for us, silencing the oppressed makes a religion morally repulsive, not appealing.
But it didn't say anything about silencing them. It's about leading by example with attitude, with your actions. That even though you are under subjugation, that you can still take the moral high ground. How does he not get that?
It's Nadir.
Here, the email and my Discord. Feel free to contact me in whichever way is more comfortable for you.
So how is this another big lie in your Bible? Explain how this is true.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I already answered this, and he just keep propagating. It's the same answer that I would give you, right? That these people that is under cruel punishment and harsh punishment, as you say, and you still got to show that this is actually chattel slavery. You still haven't showed that. If they're under harsh punishment, they will be vindicated by God. They will be vindicated. So that is that is how a Christian is supposed to be if they are found themselves in the situation. Oh. This is all he has to.
Called it.
That's why I said you was right on the money with
the verse.
I mean, it's not it's a kind of if you know a little bit about what you're talking about, it is pretty clear.
Yeah. This is in context instead of cherry picking, waffling, and pulling everything out and twisting the scriptures to his own framework and to his own mindset. Does not say anything like that. Of course, there's going to be persecution. Jesus said we will be persecuted. And this is he's just validating the scriptures at this time. He's validating every word that Jesus said because of this. Thank you, Nadir, by proving our Bible correct. Because if Jesus said this was going to happen and we see this happening and we see that these people are being persecuted, then that is because Jesus had already said it and you are validating what Jesus said. Thank you, Nadir. He's your God and Savior. Repent from Islam and come and follow him if you believe in his words that much and if you believe in the Bible that much, because you are validating it and you don't know it.
I just threw that in there because I know it'll get under his skin.
I don't share the sentiment, but I approve 100%.
From his own Islamic sources.
Oh, we're up. You're up to 135 likes. Let's freaking go.
Not lies.
Oh, lies. Yeah, sorry.
From Nadir.
Yes, 135 likes over there. Got it. Well, it's not 1-to-1. It's because after a while they start compounding, and he gets 5 ticks every time he shows the images. So
He's still not even dealing with anything that I brought from Islam. He's stuck on this because he know he cannot give credibility to anything that he says, except his little typed out little paragraphs that he made up on this screen. He can't deal with the arguments. He keeps running from it, and he won't do it. He's just showing that he's a coward.
Mhm.
He gets into the AI thing in the because that's all I heard. I came in late, and you were in the Q&A, and Nadir was doing pretty much the same thing he's doing now, but with the AI. The AI say, the AI say, the AI say. Is that when he kind of switched?
Yeah, that's when he went to in the Q&A. I think he may have brought it up towards the end of our discussion, and then he just went full blown about it in the cross exam. I mean, in the
In
questioning.
the Q&A. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you have like a time limit or anything like that?
It's what 10 o'clock here. I can go another 30-45 minutes, no problem.
Okay, because I do have something prepared. I have a fresh ChatGPT window open that is I haven't used ever, and towards the end of the debate, people started asking Nadir show the prompt, and he does show the prompt. So I want to actually test and let everyone see if we use the same prompt as Nadir, will we get the same answer on a fresh ChatGPT instance? So
Yeah,
we'll do that in about 15 minutes. That's okay with you?
Whenever I pushed back on the Chat GPT, he actually admitted that it don't say this every time. He said it doesn't say this every time, but this is what I'm bringing. So I say, so you just cherry pick the answers from Chat GPT, the one that agrees with your position. And then he just went off like, oh, just because it's from Chat GPT, that doesn't make it like wrong in a sense. Yeah, but yeah, he admitted that he doesn't get that answer every time either.
So pernicious prompting, Nadir. Good job.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So there is actually some agreement we have here. You're saying that they will be vindicated by God. We can agree on that. That's true. But what you said that the slave beating is persecution. No, it's not. Not according to the New Testament. The slave beating is his calling in life. This is what makes God happy. So what the false apostle Paul, this demon prophet you're following, he is grooming the slave to meet the needs of his evil slave master. You see, if you go back to the passage which I showed you, no comment of
you see, with everything, he does the fisherman's tale again. First, he started with Paul being a false prophet. Now he's also a demon.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh, he's just the best. How does one get to be like that?
I don't know.
Restraint was given.
It's weird. Because like even flat earthers don't get to this level of delusion.
To the slave master for his cruel treatment. Why? He explains himself inside Titus chapter 2, verse 9 through 10. He wants to make Christianity to look attractive to him. So you look at these slaves, look, their hands are cut off. They're whipped. There's stripe marks all over their body. But guess what? The text says they don't talk back. So you call them every racial slur in the book. You could call them the N-word. These slaves do not call back. They don't talk back. And when you
Oh, Nadir, that is what a weird thing to say. What? Again, this is shock tactics, Nadir. It's disgusting, honestly. What are you even doing? Like, seriously. We
like
are
the N-word was even
a thing
prevalent
before,
back then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a modernist thing, Nadir. You're so lost. We have we're on the tail end of the show. So if you're on Words Chat, this is the time to send your super chats. I mean,
You heard the man.
Yeah. What are you doing?
See that? Can you please share my screen, Mike? I'm quoting Titus chapter 2, verse 9 through 10. When you see that, it'll make you want to be a Christian. True, to the evil, wicked slave master, it will, but not to most.
Leading by example, Nadir. Leading by example. If you show your attitude can be good in the face of adversity. It's there's like countless books written about that very same topic, both fictional and like historical, like factual.
Every Disney movie is like that.
Right?
Every
decent
Disney
human
movie.
beings. So this is yet another example of how the Bible is concocting huge, malicious falsehood crafted to defend the cruel and oppressive slave master. Colossal lies forged to prop up a heartless tyrant who thrives on human misery. This is what you are supposed to refute tonight. You are first of all supposed to show that no, Islam is not a terminating system, which you failed to do. But you're also supposed to show how are these verses true. These look like big, malicious lies being told to defend a cruel, oppressive.
Nadir, I think you might have to remove the mirror from in front of you because you're projecting IMAX with Dolby 5.2 Atmos sound. Like, this is crazy, Nadir.
slave
All
master.
right, that's 2
If-
minutes.
Explain to me. Explain.
And he keeps talking. He keeps talking.
Oh my, when people keep talking after they're muted, that is just lovely because it's just so tunnel vision that you could land at 747 behind them and they wouldn't know. Well,
Yeah.
no, Nadir, I love you so much.
Explain to me how these slaves are going to make Christianity look attractive to me or to any other person.
right, brother, that
Please
was 2
explain how this
minutes.
works if it's not a lie.
I'll let you go a little over there. We got about, I'd say, 8 to 10 minutes left, give or take, in the open dialogue. So if you guys have some questions, you want to get the super chats in before we get to the Q&A, we got some good ones. We'll try to not do timed responses on the Q&A to make.
He fights the chat later. Oh, yeah. And Nadir has been on MDD for years. And he still doesn't understand that when people pay money to ask a question, sometimes the questions are tangential to the debate. But Nadir, on the past, and that's one of the reasons he hasn't been invited back too much, is that people ask him questions and he will say, oh, that's not part of the debate. And he will literally refuse to answer. And it's like, dude, Nadir, understand the whole thing. Like, it's part of the show. Sometimes people ask things that are completely unrelated. Just answer the question.
Make it flow a little better.
Sure.
But if I ask you to let the other person talk and you just keep blowing past me, I will mute you, whoever does it. Just wanted to put that out there, just so we can keep it cordial and have time for all the super chats, because we've got about 35 minutes worth of those we'll go through. And then if there isn't a ton of super chats, I might read a couple other chats if people have some good questions. But I do encourage it. Support the channel. It's an independent channel, and we're trying to host DebateCon 7 coming up here on the 31st. So get your tickets right there, 20% off with the code 20FromStream. We got another 24 hours to do that. All right, so we're gonna go back.
Nadir, he's a broken record. He's not dealing with anything. He just keeps doing the same thing over and over. It's starting to get boring at this point. But I would read still, he's not dealing with anything that I bring from Islam. If you go to Riyadh Salihin 324, it says, it has been narrated that Maimuna bint al-Harith, right, had set free a slave girl without the prophet's permission. When her turn came, because the prophet used to visit all of his wives, she made mention of that and him saying, did you know I had set a slave girl free? He said, have you indeed? She replied, yes. He then remarked, had you given her to your maternal uncles, you would have your reward increased. So if you would have kept her in slavery and give her to your maternal uncles, you would have got a greater reward. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. Keep them in slavery and keep them in slavery so they won't be free. Oh, that's very, very good, Nadir. That's very good. So this is Titus 2:9. I already deal with all of that. He's not even dealing with anything that I brought. We also see that a man who had no property of emancipated 6 slaves at his time of the death. When the prophet was informed about it, he spoke severely of him. So he talked down on a man for freeing slaves. He then called them, divided into 3 sections, cast lots among them, and he emancipated 2, but he kept 4 in slavery. He kept 4 of them in slavery. All we see is Muhammad keeping people in slavery. He's not freeing anyone. When someone let him go, he comes and overrules it and then bring them back into custody, into slavery. On the contrary. Okay, I'll deal with that in a minute.
Back to
So
you.
this is an issue. Yeah, this is an issue of intelligence. He lacks the intelligence to have a debate.
Yeah.
Now I'm dumb again.
Nadir. No. No, the one that's showing very little intelligence right now is you. You haven't been able to contend with anything that he says. You're ignoring his argument, which is the hallmark of someone who is not smart to like engage with the argument. Because there are ways in which you can dismiss an argument, right? But you need to rebut it. So what's happening here is Nadir makes a claim. The word and I rebuts it, and Nadir is just ignoring the rebuttal and restating the original claim. That's the hallmark of a stupid person, Nadir. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you could have found a way to disarm the argument, then you could say that it's an intelligent thing that he doesn't understand your rebuttal, but you are not doing that, Nadir. Objectively, you're not doing that.
Debate with me, as I have stated very clearly. Show the references for what you're talking about. There is no such thing as keeping people into slavery in Islam and not allowing them to be freed. When the Quran stated very clearly, free the slaves if you see any good in them. So these are all just fabrications, misrepresentations, and I shouldn't have to chase after every false claim he makes. Come on, that's not fair. Show your evidence for what you're talking about. Now, the point which I wanted, you're like, look, there's a greater reward for keeping a slave. Look, the issue about this, which you are not able to refute.
Sorry, Nadir, you glitched out there for a
didn't
second.
just automatically condemn slavery, say, okay, there he goes. No more can own slaves. Why? Because it was trying to avert the humanitarian catastrophe which would have occurred after that. For example,
Oh my, Nadir. I'm no judge, but I think you just like literally conceded the debate right there. Nadir, you're saying that slavery couldn't be abolished because it was essential.
It would have
Because
been
it would
the
have
end of the
created a
world.
catastrophe.
Yeah, basically he's like it would have been the doomsday.
That's it.
I really think he shouldn't have done this debate. And one of the parts that I think is so gross is he keeps telling Word, "You've lost, you've lost, you've lost." And when someone says that, you know they're hurting. It's like the Sheikh Uthman. I don't know if you know who Sheikh Uthman is, Max, but Sheikh Uthman is like this legend of this so-called sheikh who's running away from everything. God Logic went to his masjid because he said he wanted to debate. And then Sheikh Uthman made up all this stuff so he could hide. And I feel a lot of these apologists are, it's like we've got the Sheikh Uthman syndrome. This is literally what it is. You just act like you're really tough when you're really not. You know what I mean?
I mean,
It's really bad.
Isa, you've seen it happen here countless times. A flat earther comes on the chat, puffs his chest, and I give him like, "Hey, click the link, come and debate me now." And he's like, "Nah."
Oh, it's very similar.
And
It's very
they
similar.
run away. They run away. They're looking back and saying, "I'm not scared of you."
So it's interesting. I knew Sam Shamoon's story. I met Sam Shamoon actually on a channel that I've been on, the Cross and the Crescent.
Let me
And
just
Sam
say before you continue, ew.
What about Sam Shamoon?
Sam.
Yeah,
Oh, you know him?
yeah.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
didn't know.
not personally, no, but I know who he is. Like,
Oh.
and my comment still stands. Ew.
So what I
Go
know
on.
about him was how he became an apologist. So he comes from a Middle Eastern background, and basically a Muslim apologist came and insulted Christianity, right? But Sam wasn't prepared for it. This is his kind of origin story of him becoming a super apologist, like superhero. You have the super apologist story of how you ended up becoming an apologist. But he said that he went and studied his religion. He's like, and he went and studied Islam because at the time people didn't really know much about Islam. So they didn't really, like, Christians didn't really know how to interact. So when Muslims debated with Christians, Muslims would come out on top because Christians didn't actually know Arabic. They didn't know about the text. They didn't know about the culture. But now in this day and age, there's so many Christian apologists who really study Islam all the time that they know the hadith, they know these elements, and it's made it very difficult for a lot of, like, particularly your Salafi, your standard Salafi Muslim apologists. So when they come in, they really don't know what to do. And they deal with a lot more like fringe stuff. Like, for example, if you say Uzair is the son of, there's a passage in the Quran that says Jews believe Uzair is the son of God, right? That's a problematic position if you universalize that and say, well, all Jews believe that. Well, because there's no Jew actually believes that, because that would be a blasphemous position, right? From a rabbinic Jewish perspective, you couldn't say Uzair is the son of God. This would be a very, very problematic position.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Jew would say that unless it's
No.
like a super fringe
Exactly.
denomination. Yeah, it's weird.
So what they say is Metatron is Uzair, but that's like fringe scholarship. This is not a mainstream type of perspective. So how could you play that out? And it's just really hard. It's a very hard. It's like between a rock and a hard place. And I feel Muslim apologists don't do very well in these types of debates, because what they do is they do a lot more chest thumping than they actually do with fact engagement. And I would say your regular viewer is not buying it. They don't like chest thumping. It doesn't impress anyone. And it's like, honestly, I think Christians who live in a lot of like modern countries, when they see like Muslims chest thumping, they're like, dude, your countries are a bunch of failures. Like, you're in a really bad place, civilizationally speaking. That's what Andrew Wilson says, right? You're not in a place where you can chest thump. You're at the will of these modern countries that have Christian majorities. What do you do with that? You can't chest thump and have arrogance. You're in a bad place. You're not like from the 11th century, when Muslims are doing really well. You're in a situation where you're doing really bad. So you have to have some accountability. You can't come in chest thumping and being ablazed when you don't, civilizationally, you're in a difficult place. Culturally, you're in a difficult place. You have a lot of issues with violence. There's a lot of issues going on. And it's like, you got to have humility. So like, if I'm debating for Islam, I would never attack Christianity. I can't. It's an impossible position, because if I attack Christianity, I attack Islam, and Islam's already in a vulnerable place. So it's just
my problem with Sam is that he's a little bit of a sophist in the way that he argues, and he does the same thing that Nadir does. Christianity is always like, he cheerleads for Christianity is the best, but he takes the worst interpretations possible about Islam, and I don't think that's fair. And I don't know, it's one of those people that I look at him and I don't like them. Oh, Headshot Goat says Islam is the real truth. Bible is full of contradictions. Dude, I agree with the sentiment that the Bible does have contradictions, but the Quran has more, I think.
So the issue is, there's this thing, I don't know if you're familiar.
An anti-Semitism. Oh, lovely.
Well, the problem is all your sages and prophets are Israelites. Like, you can't escape that. And Christians know that too. Christians would never say, oh, we hate Jews. They would probably say, like, particularly because Pharisees are a target in the text. And that is what modern day Judaism is. It's Pharisaic rabbinic Judaism, right? And there's no denial of that, right? And there is tension with that, but it's not Judaism. It's particularly the denial of Christ as opposed to Judaism being the issue.
We disagree with them, but we would never say, hey, a Jew is behind you, come and kill him. Like some of the texts in Islam, like they didn't.
To be fair, that's in the context of a war.
Yeah, but we don't propagate to even unalive the Jews, even though we disagree with them.
Well, and Christ is a Jew. You would never say Christ is a Muslim or Christ is a Christian. You're like, no, Christ is a Jew.
Christ wasn't a Christian. Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many Muslims will come up and ask me, well, was Jesus a Christian? And I'd be like, bro, just get off my stage right now.
I love that. That's an exonym. That was a name that was given to the
By the
followers
Roman
of
Empire.
Christ by other people,
Yeah, living
as
water
opposed to an endonym, which is what someone would call themselves.
themselves. So like living water, the way, those were terms that were used.
Mhm.
But
Hi Mona E Ministry says, may you come to the truth, Max. You seem lovely. I am lovely, but the truth is there is no God. I'm sorry.
okay. So I think what's interesting about this though is when you're dealing with these types of situations, like this anger and this bluster, and it just doesn't work. The chest thumping isn't working. You have to have accountability, and I think that that's the biggest problem that I see is the lack of accountability. And
Mhm.
I think this is the big issue that I see, and I think even a dialogue about Judaism, I don't think Muslims really know much about Judaism at all. Like they really don't know much. Like they don't know what the practices are, and I'm not saying all Christians do either, but I think from a Christian vantage point, you have the Hebrew scriptures that you will read, so you'll know more about it. You'll know like what a mezuzah is. Like I don't know if you saw the debate word with the 4 Christian women versus the 4 Muslim women.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
But the Christian women knew Hebrew, so they understood the source material. They understood how the Jewish stuff worked, right? The Muslim woman was like, the Bible is corrupted, but I've never read it. And I was like, really? You're coming to this platform to have a debate about this thing that you don't even know what it is? You're embarrassing yourself, you know?
And
you're-
I just because we have like their text is essentially our text. We claim their text. You know what I'm saying? So, and we use their text, and there is some overlap because without their text, we wouldn't know if Jesus is the Messiah, right? Like our text is pretty much a fulfillment of their text from our vantage point. So
Mhm.
of course we have to know their text, and it wouldn't do us no good saying, well, that Old Testament is corrupt. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just corrupted, and then we don't even read it at all. Like
Yeah, it's what I was telling you before. If you take the position that many people have taken against me, it's like, well, that's just the Old Testament. It's like, well, now you got into a really big theological problem, because if that's just the Old Testament, then Jesus was just a dude that died that day among the other people that they executed that day. Who knows how many they were? Because the Romans were a little bit trigger happy with the executions. So
oh yeah.
that gets you into a huge problem, because
But I
what's
think-
the importance of Jesus if he didn't fulfill the messianic prophecies? If you
But-
take that away, he was just some guy that went around saying I'm God and got executed, rightly so, by the Romans, right?
But I think Christian apologetics have a very strong position. They're like, that's a covenant with the Israelites. That's not the covenant I have. The Israelites are bound by that covenant. That's a central part of Christianity, that there's 2 covenants. There's a covenant under Christ, and then there's a covenant, the covenant that's under like Abraham, the Israelite covenant. So I mean, that's a very strong position. You're like, look, they're under that covenant, I'm under a different covenant. We made a different pact than what the Israelites did. So, you know, like the pact with circumcision. I'm just saying that is the Christological argumentation.
No,
So,
I get
it's
that.
consistent with that argument.
I 100% get that, and we're not going to go back. We spent like 20 minutes on this before, and I don't want to make it about it. I am retyping, because we're close to the time that the word said that we would be fine. I'm retyping the prompt from Nadir, and we'll look at that together next. So sorry, go on.
I think what's fascinating too is looking at our counter here. I think this is a very spectacular indicator here of what's going on. And I think Nadir comes off as a very like nice man outside of the debates, but when he's in the debate, it's like, whew, it's kind of rough. Like there's a lot of ad hominem stuff going on, and I've seen a lot of his debates, you know.
Me too.
But it's just tragic.
I'm not as dumb as Nadir, but you've seen me. You know I'm super pleasant.
Yeah,
but
right.
I can get like really nasty.
But Nadir had an issue when he debated Dr. Wood many years ago, when David quoted something from the Quran, and Nadir's like, that's not right. And then the text actually said what David said. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry, Nadir. This is so embarrassing. I feel bad for you, brother. I feel really bad for you, brother. And it's like, this debate world, it's hard. And I was thinking about like the Sheikh Uthman drama with Avery when he came to the masjid, and he's like, you know, can we debate? And then Sheikh Uthman, oh my God, it's so crazy. Sheikh Uthman's like minions come out, and they're like, and they're all dressed up, they're all like Salafite up, and they're like, you can't come in and record. And I'm like, but they're recording. Like, they're recording in the masjid, so like, why can't they record? And I'm like, what are you afraid of? What is there to be afraid of? You have the haq bil haq, man. You've got the truth. The Salafi dawah. The Salafi dawah needs to overcome. But the thing is, when you watch Sheikh Uthman debate God Logic and Dr. Wood and what's his name? Anthony Rogers, they're all there, right? And they're coming to debate. Sheikh Uthman does not know how, like his street apologetic type of position with the tent, it doesn't work because he doesn't know how to engage this, because he's not substantive. What he is he does emotional arguments. So he's like, you know, Islam is really simple. It's really logical. Christianity, it's confused. How can a man be God? How can, it's, why would you believe, in the salvation where you don't have to work? Like you just get free salvation. How does that work? You have to do stuff. So it's like these things, it kind of makes sense. Like in our world, it's like if I do stuff, like it's a capitalism, it's mercantilism, it's religious mercantilism. I do stuff, I get stuff. So God is actually this this capitalist mercantile thing where when I pray to God, God will give me stuff. But that's not, I would say in other religious disciplines, that's not how God works. It's not that God is a genie, like a wishing machine where I go like this and say, God, give me things. Then God just gives me the stuff, And I think that is the issue. That's kind of what's being presented, that God is a genie or like, a vending machine, where I put the coins in, then God gives me the thing. My prayer equals that. And I think that's kind of the relationship that certain people have, religiously speaking. And I think it's super easy to understand, but that doesn't mean that that's the best kind of theological approach, So I think that this,
All right, I have for the grand finale. Give me 1 second. I want to justify here. This is the one. This is during the open discussion, right? And Nadir's prompt, you can see the timestamp on the MDD debate link is 2:13:47. And Nadir shows his prompt. It reads, Prophet Muhammad stated the following: whoever has a slave woman and teaches her good manners and educates her, had you not done that, the gates of hell would have opened for you for beating a slave. A slave girl of Al-Medina would have taken hold of the hand of the Prophet and take him wherever she desired. In today's times, these teachings seem quite normal, but people did not think like this 1400 years ago. It appears to be an anachronism. What's the best explanation for this? So that's the evidence. That's what Nadir said. Now, I have here a fresh ChatGPT. There we go. We have for here a fresh ChatGPT instance. It's on a private window, and I'm not logged in. So we'll check. We'll see if we get the answer that Nadir got. Oh, uh-oh. We're really not getting we're really not getting anything like what Nadir told. And I think I can actually.
You call this clunker? Is that what you said? That's
clanker with
clanker.
An A. Clankers, yes.
And I'm like, it is weird to go to ChatGPT because ChatGPT can be wrong many, many, many times.
I brought that up in the debate. I brought that up that it can be trained. I brought all of this up, and it just wasn't sinking into him. that
what
this
I
is not a good way to go.
what I thought was really weird was the virus thing. I'm like, what are you saying? You're putting a coronavirus on your presentation, and like, you're saying like there's some kind of infection, but I'm like, what's the infection? Like that was never even really connected. It's just like it sounds, it sounds shocking and has a
Yeah.
hook, but it doesn't work. And again, like I think Muslim apologists, like I heard Daniel Hakikachu attacking Judaism, and I'm like, you do realize the premise of most of your stuff is from like rabbinic Judaism. Like the Talmud is in the Quran, is directly quoted in the Quran. It's there. If you take
Mhm.
one life, you take all of humanity. That's from the Talmud.
Yeah.
So like, and then you said, no, it's actually revelation. I'm like, okay, even if it's revelation, what you're saying is God's revelation is from the Talmud. You can't just say, well, this thing is so unique and made up, and it's made perfect for this, but it's not this other thing. I'm like, then you're just a grifter, dude. You're just grifting, and you're being dishonest, and no one wants to hear that.
Right.
That's special pleading.
Look, I was wondering where Nadir got his idea that abolishing slavery suddenly would have produced chaos. It turns out it's a clanker thing. Lovely.
And it's not true. It's not true. Just, and you don't, and what you're doing is speculation. This is not evidence-based. This is speculation. Just saying, William Wilberforce did it in England. They abolished slavery completely in England, and it worked very fast, very quickly.
Uruguay abolished slavery like 40 years before the U.S.
Yeah, William Wilberforce is in the UK, but no, I get your point.
I tried to scroll as slow as I could, so you guys could get the full text. You're going to have to watch it again and pause, but I need to go back and we'll look at what Nadir got. So give me just a sec, and we'll wrap it up there for tonight. Word, thank you so much for joining us.
For sure.
It was funny. It was fun, and the debate was just lovely. Moral revelation ahead of its time. Norm disruptive ethics. These teachings appear anachronistic because they intentionally violated the norms of the 7th century Arabia rather than reflecting them. It did give a similar answer to that in one of the points, but this is very clearly trained so that Nadir actually gets the answers that he wants. Notice that he doesn't have the panel open on the left, so we don't know what the preamble to this was. So at the very least, it's shady. I would be inclined to say it's just plain dishonest.
So I wanted to say something. I want to talk about how we could pimp Nadir's argument.
Never debate again.
Well, my first argument would be don't debate this topic. This is not a good topic for Islam versus Christianity. You don't win. You can't win this argument. But if I were to try to give the best argument that he could have, I would say that Nadir would need to really focus on the text, and maybe he would cherry pick, but he would need to focus on things that make it really like use the kind of the vision that's shown in The Message, the movie, the Islamic movie from the 70s. Show and say, look, there's all these cases where, they buried daughters alive. They did all this stuff in pre-Islamic Arabia. But look at the growth from pre-Islamic Arabia to modern Arabia. The difficulty is that if we use scholarship that's not completely accurate, it's not this idea that all these children are being buried alive is not exactly what happened. This is more of like the kind of Islamic narrative of what happened, but historically it's a lot more complex and nuanced. But I'm granting this position, just say, look, Islam has done all of this growth, and I would focus on defending Islam as opposed to attacking Christianity, because I don't think you have a strong argument here. But I would try to show that Islam was really, really ahead of its time. It was really, really progressive. It was really focusing on humanity and dignity and nobility and honor. That's the way to go. I think attacking Christianity weakens your position, because then what you're saying is, well, my continuous link from God was broken. And I think you lose it when you attack Christianity and Judaism, you attack Islam. So it's like, I always warn that you really can't get away with being unscathed. It's like stabbing yourself. To stab your opponent, it's stabbing yourself, you know?
Mhm.
So what I would do if I was him is I would really focus on all the positive elements of Islam and just kind of bolster that position and just say, look, Islam really gave a great, era for the world. And I think that would be a much better argument. I don't know if it's super compelling, but I think it's the best position.
It's a better argument than whatever Nadir could come up with. It has one critical flaw, and is that there's a reason why the golden age of Islam ended. And it's because they started going up against the things that made it great. All of the advancements in math and knowledge and so on, they kind of suddenly stopped. And it's probably because the religion got in the way of like actual progress. So it is better than anything Nadir could come up with, has like that critical flaw, but it would still have been better than any of this.
All I'm saying is I don't think there is a great argument, but I'm saying that's the best argument that I can think off the top of my head. Because I think it's just a failed position. I'm like, you can't, and when Muslim debaters try to fight Christianity and Judaism, it's a losing, you're already putting yourself in a losing place, because Islam is claiming Christianity and Judaism. It's claiming these traditions. And then when you're saying, well, what Islam is claiming is it's 2.0, like Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows Vista, you know what I mean? Or Windows XP, like these different these different operating systems. The thing is, it takes all of those things and then it makes them better. Windows XP doesn't exist without Windows 95 and Windows 98. You know what I mean? So it's like, you that's the point of Islam. You can't just say, well, Windows 95 and Windows XP, they don't actually really exist. They're not really here. I mean, Windows 95 and Windows 98, they're not really here. They're not really present, but we're just making up our own new system and we're not actually using anything that was from there. That's just, it makes no sense from the vantage point that you're taking, that you're a continuation narrative. You have to have a continuation. You can't just say, well, everything's gone, but now everything's good. Like when you read the Quran, I don't know, for the audience, and I'm sure the Ward and I and you, Max, have read the Quran. It is vague. It actually is a text, particularly about the stories, that is asking you to go to the Torah. It is asking you to go to the Gospels.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I agree.
It is telling you to do that. I don't know who Jesus is without the Gospels. I can't say I love Jesus or know Jesus without the Gospels. You have no idea who he is without the Gospels. It's like a skeleton,
And it references stories that if you want to know the story, you have to go and read them, like the flood and some of the other stories that they talk about. They're not detailed. They just give you, the quick
it's spark notes. I always tell Muslims, it's like you got cliff notes of an actual story. The Quran reads as if you already know the previous scriptures.
Correct.
Like, and it's just summarizing what happened. And then Muhammad is supposedly building on what already happened. But for you to know exactly what happened before, then you must go and read these previous texts that Allah claimed that he revealed. And I think you was on my panel one time, Issa, when I ran that argument. Islam has a broken chain, like his chain is broken. Yeah, I think you were there before. And if this is a chain, it's supposed to be in a succession. It's supposed to be linked together. But once you divorce yourself, Islam, from the previous scriptures and the previous religions, then your chain is broken. Now you don't have no foundation, or you don't have no historical precedents of Islam. So it is, and the reason why we don't have to deal with it's not the same with us, because our book never claims that the Quran is from God or something like that. Our book never claims that. So it's like we're kind of proof free. Now maybe the Jews can probably make that claim against the Christians as far as the New Testament, but the Muslims can't, because wholeheartedly, their God said that he revealed these previous texts, the Torah and the New Testament, the Injil. So it's a self-refuting argument to do.
Oh yeah, and
100%.
they're authoritative. Do you want to do final thoughts, word, and we'll wrap it up for tonight? Thank you so much.
Sure.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I know
I appreciate
pushed
it.
back a little bit, but
No, that's
you know.
fine. That's I do this, often, and pushback is something I'm used to, right? So I hope I wasn't offensive in any way to you.
No,
you know.
you're cool. It's fine. I also
Right.
get a little bit heated, but it's not. It's just my way of arguing.
Yeah, I don't take
I
nothing personal.
still appreciate you, and thank you so much for coming.
For sure.
Go
And I
ahead.
appreciate y'all for having me on your panel. And I didn't know Issa was like a staple over here. So
Oh yeah,
I
it's me, Dr. J, that left, and
Mhm.
Isa. This is like it's our channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll more than likely come back if you was to invite me,
We would
just
love
to
you
have
to
a
have you
discussion.
back. You have
Yeah.
a great
Anytime.
insight.
For sure. No problem. But yeah, since we went to debate, I think I only could bring out certain things because we didn't go over the whole debate. I actually went a little bit deeper, bringing up church fathers and other sources and historical references and stuff like that. But it's like I was kind of like forced to try to move the conversation along to where, because it got redundant within the first hour, and I kind of like, I got bored of it because it was just the same thing. But I would say that it was a good experience to know exactly who Nadir is and the pitfalls and everything that he brings up. And I don't think he's a bad guy inherently. I just think he's trying to defend his text, and he tries to attack our text, but he does it in the most disingenuous way, to where it's just a put off. He's not arguing in good faith, so.
Mhm.
It's just a put off on that. But I enjoyed the debate for the most part. And I usually I don't name call, and I don't call people dumb, and I don't say you're running, and I don't do that usually, like if I'm having a good discussion with anyone. Only when somebody give me that energy, I try to match, I just give it back to them, so that's why you see me do that inside of that discussion, that debate with Nadir, because he like forced my hand to do it, you know what I'm saying? So I enjoyed
approve.
it, and I enjoyed being on MDD. This was my first debate on MDD, so hopefully I will have more debates, and I'll become more familiar with you guys, and also James, the host, and the channel. But I appreciate you for having me.
Oh, anytime. We typically do after shows after most of the debates on MDD, unless we have something else planned before. So we cover all the topics, which is kind of fun because MDD has a wide range of things they talk about, which is kind of cool. Isa, final thoughts, but before, let me read this. Copa Yesol says, this stream was fire, actually. Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Max made the stream, man. Max made it.
Isa, you are muted.
Okay. I think this debate teaches us what we need to do in debates and what we need not to do in debates. I think we have to be smart about how we engage in certain topics. I think preparing for debates is super important. I think Ward did an excellent job. Ward did, I would love to have seen Ward's presentation on this because I think it would have been really amazing. And I think it would have, and when Ward debates again, I want to see Ward's presentation on this because I think it will be fire. And it's what's needed to really take it home. I think the major issue was, I think Nadir really wants to defend Islam. He wants to be the hero for Islam. But I think the way that he needs to do that is he needs to focus on what makes Islam look strong. this is not one of the positions. Like, this is one of the more difficult positions. There is enslavement that happened. Like, you do have spoils of war, which includes human captives. There was sexual, if we're taking all the sources, you know, the traditional Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah sources, and we're reading it through a Salafi lens, which a lot of these people do, reading it from a very literalist lens, then we have a lot of problems in modern standard ethics. There is enslavement of people. There is what we would call sexual assault. You know, that is what we would call it in modern days. A woman who is procured through war is not a woman who's willingly wanting to engage in this. A lot of people critique, this wasn't brought up, Safiya, who was a Jewish woman who ended up becoming a wife of the Prophet of Islam. It depends on how you read it. If you read like a very liberal, progressive, spiritual interpretation, you may not have this, but through a Salafi narrative, her family was killed. You know, I'm thinking about, was there another word I could use? But I mean, that's the word that's coming. You know, and why the reasoning for it was, does it really matter? It did happen.
Is that the one that also, because I heard one very egregious story, and I'm taking it with a grain of salt because I heard it from like an absolute like hater of Islam, that they conquered the town, he killed all her family, but he saw her and loved her immediately and then had sex with her right there, like married her and had sex with her right there in front of everyone.
I'm not sure about the last part, but what in this narrative, she was a spoil of war and she was very beautiful. And her husband was actually killed. She was like 18 or something. She was very young. Right. But this other man wanted her. So he took her as a spoil of war. And then what happened was, like somehow the Prophet of Islam, it was, you know, they said that she should be his spoil in the story. And then ultimately, you know, they traded several women for her so the Prophet could have her as his wife. It's very problematic for modern audiences. I think there's a lot of difficult stuff. Like anti-blackness is one of the, like, that's what I've heard from a lot of like, you know, folks who are, you know, I guess if you identify as Black or African American, when they hear these types of things, it's very problematic. There's a lot of literature that has this kind of, you know, anti-Black rhetoric, misogynistic. These are things that are difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're very, very difficult to defend. So if I'm doing the Muslim apologist route, I'm not going to go down these routes because it's just not a winning place. The only way I could do it is if I'm going to lie. If I keep lying and lying and not telling the truth about it, I could be a great liar, but
look at the counter.
I could be a great liar, but that doesn't mean what is actually being conveyed is true. And it's just not honest to the stuff. And I appreciate work because he's like, dude, this isn't, I do have this history in my tradition. It's difficult. I don't necessarily have the best answers, but it's a part of what I have. And I own it. What we heard from Nadir was, all of this stuff that you hear, it's all false. My interpretation of sugarcoating all of it, making it look really nice and really sweet, that's good. But guess what? My opponent's position, I'm going to be the most uncharitable. I'm going to make their position look the worst. And they're so bad. But my thing, oh, it's sweetheart. It's so good. It's so wonderful. And to really an honest seeker of truth, that's not going to work. It's not going to sell. And what it comes off is you're just like, well, it's Ibn Fibbin. It's Ibn Fibbin.
Yeah.
And that's what you feel. It's an Ibn Fibbin. So, you know, that's what I feel.
All right. Thank you so much, Isa. I don't have much else to add. I think you guys described it perfectly. But that being said, and even though the like counter ended up at 150, I'm sorry to say, you got absolutely destroyed. Your career is over and you will never recover from the devastating loss that Nadir just handed to you.
That's what Nadir said. So it's got to be true. I'm pretty sure he put that in ChatGPT and it told him that
He is the
got
king of
destroyed.
MDE. He has said it himself. He's the king of MDE. He came today, crashed out in the chat, said that Christians are running away from him. And I can literally show you my
Yeah.
email chain with him where he runs away from me. So, Nadir, don't
Yeah.
puff your chest if you're not going to pull through. People, thank you so much. We have a feminism debate tomorrow, but I'm up to here with the feminism debate. So we might do something else tomorrow night for the Yerba Mate Talks people. And I do have to thank Thomas Jefferson Library from Words Community that very lovingly shared the link to Yerba Mate Talks. If you like, come by, drop a like, drop a share, or do the stuff, and we really appreciate it. Everyone who became a member and everyone who sent super chats, we're extremely grateful. Before we go, make sure to do the social thing is like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send it to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street, and yell, subscribe to Yerba Mate Talks and the Word and I. And that way we can share the love for the channel. Word, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We'll catch you all on the next one. Take care. Have a great night.
Watch your head, y'all.